At the Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia, Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Welcome to the ice box, that's where you are.
I might do the show in gloves. I'm not sure how it'll work with the board, but this is intense.
It's welcome. Rochester, New York. I know, cold in winter, but our building here.
This is I've got two jackets on.
Yeah.
I left the gloves in the car because I can't do it, but I might need to just during breaks.
I have my wooliest sweater on today, knowing what we were in for. Nobody wants to hear us complain about the cold, but you know what? We power through. Welcome into the sports bar. Danger is in Florida. If you don't believe me, look at his social media feed as he's at the most happiest place on earth, and he'll be back on Monday. In with us once again. Terrible take. Timmy, how are you this afternoon?
Outside of cold, I came in here like the Kool-Aid man. You know how like the bit or the meme of the McDonald's ice cream machine is always down?
Yeah.
I think I was the reason it broke today. I got some lunch before the show, and I sat, got my order, and they said, "Oh, just pull up, we'll get you the rest of it." It took 20 minutes to get the milkshake that I got.
Oh boy.
And I think at this point I'd rather be told that it was broken, not be the one to break it, because that's 20 minutes that I'm just sitting. I ate the whole meal.
Yeah. Oh, I always love the can I get a milkshake? Oh, it's not working. You closed it down. You closed it down. Or maybe, Tim, just maybe you're the only one ordering a milkshake here on a cold afternoon in February.
Could be.
Rochester.
I mean, they don't call me Terrible Time Timmy for no reason.
Who says we don't have anything to talk about today? We got a great show lined up. We invite your calls, as always, 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. We're going to be talking a lot of hockey today. End of the show today. RIT men's head coach Wayne Wilson will be joining us. It's the final weekend of the regular season for the men. Now, if everything breaks right, maybe they get to host a playoff game, but as I learned in the post-game show interview, maybe don't ask Wayne that, not just yet anyways. Let them make sure they get the W on Friday night. We'll talk to head coach Wayne Wilson coming up. That is at the end of the show today. We will be talking to the head coach of the team with the best record in the American Hockey League. That is the Rochester Americans, and the head coach is Michael Leone. He joins us 4:25 today, nice enough to reschedule from Tuesday, and boy, he's going to want to talk to us today after his team taking care of business against Cleveland, and with that, the Amherst with the best record in the league, although this is a division that is so very tight, so you can't rest on your laurels. We'll be talking to Michael Leone about that, and certainly about, I would think he's going to be watching the game like most of us tonight. Hockey talk coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. And I'm going to kind of bend the rules a little bit with Dan Fates, too, because Dan has Amherst takes. I'm sure he's got to take on U.S. Canada. And there's a name that popped up, which we'll get to in a second here, because when we're discussing, all right, wish list to improve the Buffalo Bills defensive line, far and away, number one, Myles Garrett. Ding, 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 ding. Hey, would you like Max Crosby? Yes. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, what about Trey Hendrickson? Yes. Ding, ding, ding. When we get to the Khalil Mack, it's like, well, there's another name that I have that opinion, kind of we'll get to that in a little bit, and we'll get Dan's opinion on that as well. His thoughts on the cap going up, but as he says, the cap isn't real to begin with. 866-4FAN, 866-4326, FM 95.7, AM 950, streaming for free on the Odyssey app. We are on Twitch. We are also on YouTube. If you're watching right now on YouTube, you see Tim looking like he's in a shadow there. You're not turning on the blue light underneath there. That's okay.
I don't know those buttons. I just know these buttons.
That's it.
Where are the lights? I don't even know where it is.
That's it. And then on the stream there, it's still like Megan and Pizza Dude. I ask him, hey, can we get things updated? No. So it still says you're Mike Danger on.
All right. Well,
so yeah.
maybe tomorrow I'll be
maybe tomorrow.
myself.
I'm not
leaning
going.
no, but
I'm not going to hold on to it because we're the studio that doesn't have heat, and I don't have an on-off button here since June. All right, so there's that. Again, our phone number 866-4326 866-4FAN. The table is set. Oh, by the way, if you want to reach us, our handle on Vax, the Fan Rochester. You can also leave a comment on YouTube, but just be advised that the real-time satisfaction of your tweets are not going to be read on air. I'll take a look at them when we go to break. Want to talk hockey, but the NBA stealing the headlines, not for good reasons today. I was driving, I was driving, and then listening to the sports update. It was Pat Boyle right in the middle of Rich Eisen, so he was like, "This just in," and you could tell he was like reading it. Victor Wembanyama is out for the year. I always thought whenever you hear deep vein thrombosis, it always sounds like in your thigh, in your leg, something like that. Did not know that. That's also something you can get in your shoulder. That always, whenever I hear that, that sounds dangerous. And for somebody as young as Victor Wembanyama, getting a blood clot, that's serious stuff there, Tim. And you can only imagine if they didn't catch that.
Right, like some people they never learn about it and they don't wake up the next day and stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
And for a guy that size and that stature, disregarding the age, but like people of that height typically have health problems of some sort, like pituitary kind of things.
Yeah.
This is a bummer because he's a stud at a super young age. He is a freak from he's taking shots that most point guards aren't capable of making as a 7-foot-something center, and it stinks that we won't get to see him until possibly the beginning of next season. It says the Spurs are optimistic he makes a full recovery, which isn't even like, oh, he'll be ready. That's like, oh, we hope he is.
Yeah, they can't say anything, but you know how serious it is. Like, it's not like, no, that's it. You're shutting him down for the rest of the season. Like, wow. He just turned 21 in January. And just my quick take on Victor Wembanyama. There are few athletes in sports where you just see it right away, like, oh, that looks different. And with Wembanyama, somebody at 7'3" who can run the floor like that, pass, shoot, like do everything like you can do at that height and that size. Tim, once I was thinking, all right, when he fills out a little bit, he's going to be the face of the league here, and the league would love this, having somebody from overseas be. And in San Antonio, where they love basketball, and they have this great tradition of big men from the Admiral down to Tim Duncan, and now to Wembanyama, and this is kind of a bummer here. And if you're an NBA fan, look, I'm sorry, I don't mean to like kind of pile on. This has just been you're down right now. Like, this is a league that. Right now, I'm just wondering if, like Adam Silver, with all that is happening here, I think Adam Silver will be just fine because all the TV contracts are all set. Everything kind of goes, into next year, and everything is kind of prepaid, if you will. But in terms of what is the hot sport right now, it's not the NBA.
No, financially they're going to be just fine, but optically, it's been a really crappy week. They lose. I don't think anybody paid attention to the All-Star game. They lose their Space Jam character of a center in Wembanyama. Like, they have nothing to look forward to other than, like, oh, we're back, but people don't even care, at least tonight. Like, they come back in full force tonight, and nobody cares because of what's happening on the ice. Yeah,
and the thing that sucks, Tim, is, like, if you just love basketball, like good basketball, there's two teams this year that your final – if you had to guess right now, Oklahoma City, Cleveland, that from a basketball standpoint, it would be great. I don't know if America would tune in for something like that with the markets and, you're not really familiar with SGA and, the Cleveland doesn't have the star power of some other teams. That's the thing that kind of sucks is that, sure, markets don't matter as much. In the NBA, if you don't believe me, okay, well, you had Utah all those years winning, and we just mentioned San Antonio. It's not, they have one major league team. No, this feels a little different if it ends up being OKC and Cleveland, that your two best teams are two teams that really don't have a national following. Cleveland certainly not without LeBron James.
Yeah, OKC, Cleveland as a whole competitive-wise, it's probably going to be a decent series, but those markets will care deeply. Outside of that, I'm not sure. So I think at this point, they're really pulling that Boston gets it together and is able to at least topple Cleveland on the East.
Surprise name being bandied about as being a cap casualty. Surprised because it's somebody that I hadn't heard before. Usually you think, okay, we've covered a lot of ground here as far as, who is available, who you might be able to trade for, who might be cut. Okay, so, we already knew the Chargers were going to let Khalil Mack kind of go out there and do his thing. And here's what I think about Khalil Mack. I think that would have been a lot of fun 6-7 years ago. Honestly, I think when he came in, coming out of UB, that was a lot of fun. And what could have been had the Buffalo Bills selected a Khalil Mack instead of a Sammy Watkins. And, by the way, you traded an extra first-round pick just to move up, 4 slots for Sammy Watkins. You talk about missteps during the drought era. But that was a long time ago. It really was. So for Khalil Mack, wherever he ends up, it's kind of like that, all right, can he add something maybe during the postseason? That's not going to excite a Bills fan. It may, some, if you're a UB fan, but it's not going to solve your pass rush woes. A Myles Garrett would be exciting, and that would go a long way. So would Max Crosby. What do we think about Joey Bosa? Joey Bosa, listed by Dan Graziano of ESPN as a cap casualty. Now, Tim, let's just stop right there. This is pure speculation by Graziano. But he might be onto something when you look at the numbers. Joey Bosa for the Chargers, $36.4 million if he's on the roster. That will be his cap figure. Whoa. If they just cut him, all right, the dead cap is down to 11.1. Which is not ideal, but you know what? That's easily movable. But if you're wondering, well, maybe they just kind of restructure. You take a look closer, Joey Bosa has the brand name, if you will, but the production doesn't add up. You can't get excited about a guy who had 5 sacks in 14 games last year. You can't be excited about a guy who played 14 games in 2023 and 2022 combined. So add that up. 28 games over the last 3 years, Look, I'm sorry. It falls into the category for me, Tim, of, all right, if he's out there, if the Chargers release him, if it's at the right price, but I don't think there will be a team that will, be prudent about this. He'll probably get his money from somewhere. I just don't think it should be Buffalo.
No, it's a nice name, and they'll do their due diligence should he become available, but I think that they'll probably come to the conclusion that you did. It's yeah, he's a solid player, but he's going to command more money than he deserves or we're willing to spend, and you find a guy that nobody's really ever heard of that contribute somewhere similar at a much discounted price. And to touch on the Khalil Mack thing, drafting him would have been a dynamite play a decade ago.
Yeah.
We've passed that, and now that's just replacing Von Miller with Von Miller, essentially. And you can do that if you want, but it's a novelty or a nostalgia addition, not something that's going to contribute to the ultimate goal of this roster.
I would think that maybe if you're filling out the back end and he's still out there come July, which I could see a scenario like that, okay, maybe you bring him in.
It's all got to be based on value.
It's got to be, right, like anything else, based on value. And the value to me is, okay, I'm willing to pay top dollar for Myles Garrett. You know this. I think, and again, I yet to hear anybody say, gee, that's not smart. Everybody is kind of yes, do it. Max Crosby falls into that category. But added bonus with Max Crosby, he doesn't like Patrick Mahomes. 2 check marks there. I don't think the Bengals move on from their guy, Trey Hendrickson. If I said Hutchinson before, it's Trey Hendrickson. I don't think they move on from him. But if they did, oh my gosh, yeah, that would be great. But I don't think that they would send him to a contender in the AFC. The Bengals would. That's why I don't think that would fit. To me, it's 2 guys above everyone else, that being number 1 being Garrett, number 2 being Crosby, and then everybody else I guess we can have a conversation about, and including Joey Bosa if that ends up happening. But that would be a lot, though, for the Chargers to say, all right, both guys you're going to let go.
They'd have to have something up their sleeve financially if they're going to be they're going to have to pay him the cap number if they keep him, obviously. they're also going to have to eat that cap number in the dead side of it if they get rid of him. So it's kind of a double-edged sword where, like, you got to take your medicine and enjoy it because one way or the other, it's happening. But with the cap going up, you can kind of eat that dead cap money and let him walk and go somewhere else and let them incur that real cap money and eat that cost on their own. So it probably does make sense to move on from Bosa in that regard. But again, to do that with multiple fairly highly talented players, even still, like you have to have something up your sleeve moving forward. And even if it's through the draft, like they will find a way to succeed probably if you get rid of both of them.
You see, like Harbaugh, I know is going to want to probably what's going to happen with Joey Bosa. Hey, if you hit the streets, you're not going to make that much money. They'll compromise. They'll lower the figure, and they'll beef up. Here's something that's going to make you smile, Tim, and everybody smile. Spring training is underway officially.
Let's go.
The starting
right now,
pitcher,
yeah.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto getting the start today for the Dodgers, where they have gone to the bottom of the first. So Yamamoto allowing 2 hits to the Cubs, striking out 1. These Cubs batters, I couldn't tell you who they are. So
I can.
You can?
Their leadoff hitter came over from the Rays. Their cleanup hitter, I believe, is a former top prospect of theirs that didn't really pan out. Reese McGuire, we know from just Google him. I'm not going to say it because I don't think I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a bunch of also rans on this lineup today, but yes, I'm familiar with a handful of them. And then the Dodgers, even their backups are.
Okay, so like the Dodgers lineup today: Betts, Muncy, Teoscar Hernandez, Outman, and then we get the other guys. The guy they signed for Korea, Haesung Kim.
Yes,
that's somebody that that's a case of the rich getting richer here. Like if there was one weakness last year, you don't even want to call it that. Yeah, the middle infield for the Dodgers was a little sketch when you're bringing out guys like Gavin Lux. And they got rid of Gavin Lux. He's in Cincinnati now. But this guy seems like he could be an upgrade, this Haesung Kim out of Korea, who is in the lineup today. So Dodgers and Cubs, we don't like either team, but we'll keep you updated on that today. Poteet starting for the Cubs. They had a lot of different names here in different places. I forgot.
And I know that it's mid-February, and I know that this roster is not what they'll be trotting out there come April. But the Cubs are, by many accounts, the team to beat in the NL Central, and the lineup probably isn't even.
No, they're not. Yeah, Kyle Tucker's not out there today, so he's like that's the one. We're like, oh, the Cubs got him.
I'm just
in
glad
that
it's
division.
back, man.
Yeah,
just glad it's back.
Oh yeah, you and I both here. Now, the idea that 5 weeks from today we have opening day. Yeah, that's it.
It's gonna come faster than we realize.
March 27th is opening day, so that's how long. And I'm not counting the opening day between these two teams. We'll have like regular season games in Tokyo between the Cubs and the Dodgers. That's why they're getting a little bit of a head start. But your favorite team, yeah, they'll be opening up soon enough, I'm sure here. Yeah, quick thoughts on hockey here, where and again we'll talk to Hamburg's head coach Mike Leone about his team that is once again on. I was impressed last night after what happened on Sunday. Good bounce back win for Rochester last night against Cleveland. Tonight, if I had to say, and I'm no betting expert, okay, that's why we bring on PJ Glasser. The odds for this now are dead even. It's a pick 'em. Okay, U.S. Canada. What do you want to win? Both teams at minus 110. This is where Dan DeLorean and I might disagree here. Dan DeLorean, I'm like, you're going to watch a game. Oh, Connor Hellebuck makes me nervous. I don't know. I'm like, if anything, Jordan Binnington should be the guy that makes you nervous if you're Canada. Binnington, yes, he's won a cup. When was that, Tim? 2019?
18, I think it was.
18.
Yeah.
Oh, I stand corrected. Connor Hellebuck right now, plus 250 to win the MVP of this tournament. Like, okay, if somebody scores multiple goals tonight, or maybe you get a game winner late, but let's just say it's a 2-1 win for the United States tonight, and the 2 goal scorers are 2 different guys. Hellebuck's the MVP, right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, Hellebuck came from a place called UMass Lowell, which I'm sure you know, but I'm guessing many people do not.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a superstar there, and I saw something overnight that the last 2 games he played there, 2 games, 2 wins, 65 shots, 65 saves, player of the tournament. This is the tournament final in the same arena that he won his conference tournament in. And again, it's just a sheet of ice, but the guy's a winner.
Right,
and
I don't know if you
knew
knew this or not, but Jordan Binnington won the Stanley Cup in Boston there, Tim. So, tonight is going to be a lot of fun. And look, we talk a lot of hockey, probably more than, many shows in many different markets. So tonight is just going to be kind of a special night where you're going to get a lot of people sampling the sport, people that maybe are college basketball fans, maybe they don't even like hockey, but you know what? They've heard so much about it, and if you're halfway in tune with what's going on in the world, maybe that would pull you in as well. So you're going to tune in tonight to see this team, this United States team that dropped the gloves and said, hey, we're here. I don't expect Canada to roll over here. Likely scenarios tonight, I think it's just going to be a close game. I would be stunned if either one of these teams fell apart on national television tonight.
The only way that happens is if Binnington goes bonkers, which he's done before, and in the bad way. I mean, goalies can go crazy in the good way and steal games. If Binnington falters early, the wheels fall off, and this becomes a laughing stock of a game, then I have no idea what the vitriol will be politically, social medially. Like, it's going to be interesting if one of these teams falls on their face on national television tonight.
Well, there's the other X factor, things that we don't know about, these murmurs. I won't even say rumors because there is something to it. Kel McCarr was not available for Canada. Why? Because he had the flu. Well, did that creep into the U.S. dressing room? And that is kind of the murmur that there might be that bug going around. That's why you saw, hey, there's a few guys we expect in the lineup, but you know what? Let's just have Tage Thompson at the ready tonight. So no word on who exactly is dressing. If Tage Thompson's dressing, we're like, oh, that's something different here where he hasn't been with the whole team this whole time. So to bring in the reinforcements last second here, Tim.
Yeah, less than 24 hours ago.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, what really is going on? So that's why I say, hey, it would kind of stun me if that kind of happened. But there's another way of like, and we've seen this happen at different hockey levels where just the team, all of a sudden everybody kind of gets sick. And I don't know why that is with hockey as compared to other sports where, like, if one guy gets sick, all right, this team is going to be down multiple guys. And I hope that's not the case here tonight. Four Nations final coming up tonight on ESPN at 8 o'clock. Let's get the thoughts of 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus's Dan Fates. He joins us for his weekly segment coming up next. After that, we have time for your calls at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. This is Rochester's only local sports talk show. It's the Sports Bar on the Fan Rochester.
update.
From the NBA, Victor Wembanyama is out for the season. The Spurs' second-year center has a deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder. Tonight, a hockey game, a big one at that. United States and Canada, the Four Nations final. Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, talking about that win over Cleveland.
If you look at the game we played away from the puck against that team, we did a really good job. I think going into the third period, they had, maybe 11 shots anytime. That's a recipe for success. We talked about playing the right way, not cheating the game. We did a great job. All deep pairs, all lines. We checked really well, and then we got rewarded. So it was a great team effort.
The Amerks now with the best record in the American Hockey League. The team back home tomorrow night against Belleville. We'll talk to 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus's Dan Bates coming up next. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Greg writing in, how cold is it? Now, this is like where you've got to trust us. It's saying 67, but it's like if there's a draft coming in from every direction, you could turn the heat up here.
Yeah, I don't buy the 67.
I don't
say
buy it
whatever the low number is, I think that thing has two numbers on it typically. I'm going to take the lowest one and then delete a couple degrees off of that.
Because the landlord puts everything on a timer, and the timer at 5 o'clock, all of a sudden, everything kind of goes down here. We welcome in 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus's Dan Bates, who's probably like, you guys are soft. What are you complaining about the heat? Dan, how are you today?
We're doing good. Actually, in the Buffalo Plus studio, it is like a sauna. So if you guys want to come and do some work from here,
afraid you.
No air conditioning in here.
You know, we should do that. I'm going to invite myself on Buffalo Plus. You did one, with the guys out in Buffalo. Like anytime, we want to do like a crossover event. Seriously though, Dan, appreciate your time today as always. Before we get to the Bills and some of the things that have happened over the last week here, Dan. We're all kind of like, wow, this could be a really, really cool spring in the Flower City. The Amerks getting a win over Cleveland, and now they have the best record in the American Hockey League. So to me, it's on. This is not just a playoff team. This is a playoff team that's going to, you hope, go deep in the playoffs. Here's my question to you, Dan. Will the Buffalo Sabres leave well enough alone here in Rochester?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what is Devin Levi going to learn about getting his teeth kicked in up in Buffalo and playing in front of poor defense and about that losing culture? I think if there is the best thing that's going for the Buffalo Sabres right now is the Rochester Americans. So why mess with the one thing that you have going? This is a team that I was just there at practice earlier this week, and it's fascinating to me in the sense of so much in minor league hockey that there's so much turnover, player-wise in the locker room. They're returning a lot of the guys that last year and the year before made deep runs into the Eastern Conference Final and had all the success with Seth Appert and really kind of galvanized this city again around the Amerks. That's all back. The one thing that's new is the head coach. And I kind of joked around with Coach Leone about this fact of, was there ever this thought of you're coming in here, it's a great opportunity, but you don't want to mess it up? You're kind of coming in here this is a great opportunity, all these things. And he goes, you got to stay true to yourself and the belief that you have, which is all true. And I said, but did you ever wonder, I really hope I don't screw it up here? And he kind of laughs and he's like, every day I think that. He goes, I know where we are in the standings. He goes, I hope we don't suck tomorrow. That was kind of his mindset. So I really appreciated that. I do think a fresh voice, not that Appert's voice ever got stale, but a new voice also can kind of be maybe what gets them over the top. Not that, again, I love Seth Appert. Wish him all the best up in Buffalo, which is a tough spot to be in right now. But this is an Amerks team that is filled with some young talent, some veteran guys that have played in big games in the American Hockey League, and right now a star goalie in the making.
You are a true professional, Dan, because I don't know if you realized it with that answer. You gave me a second to catch my breath. My apologies, everybody. I'm coughing up a lung there. Water going down the wrong pipe. Very unprofessional on my part. Dan Bates, 13 Wham of Buffalo Plus, our guest here. So the one thing I think that was lacking on last year's team when you look back, very talented, but when you got in that series against Syracuse, there was just a little more physicality, a little more grit with Syracuse. Do the Amherst have enough of that right now, in your opinion, Dan?
Well, I think that some of that is the experience. So you kind of get hardened by that experience. I mean, I always remember joking around when it was Yuri Kulik and Isak Rosean, and they were, 19-year-old kids coming from overseas, had never lived, in the States, and now you're learning all these things, and you get your first taste of playoff hockey that it's different. And I always remember talking to Apper about it. Like, you don't need to have, like, bone-crushing, glass-breaking hits, but it's about not being afraid of the contact, and it's about getting what he always called getting some skin. Like, get a piece of the guy, and also know that, like, a guy's going to get a piece of you, and how do you fight through that? So, well, I think they have added some toughness, and this team does seem to have grit. They are still a team that can go out there every single night and score 5+ goals. They also know that, hey, when it comes to playoffs, the ice gets smaller. It's a lot tougher to maneuver in. Goals get tougher to come by. They got to be ugly goals. So I think they have enough of that, along with, Coach Leone was talking to me that, like, he feels confident rolling all 4 lines. Like, yeah, you can adjust when you got a hot line, but he feels pretty good knowing that his top line and his fourth line can score and play good defense.
Dan, the last time the Amherst won the Calder Cup, the head coach of that team, he's going to be behind the bench tonight for not the Rochester Americans, but Team USA, this U.S.-Canada matchup. And you on Buffalo Plus, you guys have this bit that you were right or you were wrong. I admit I was dead wrong on this. I'm like, all right, it's this all-star tournament, and these guys are just going to kind of be self-preservation. I am just blown away, and I didn't think this was possible in the year 2025 for what really is an exhibition tournament that these guys are going as hard as they can, Dan.
Yeah, I actually just spent the day working on making some stuff for social media because we have like a credit to me segment, and Mike's one was about how the Four Nations tournament has got it right, and how what the Four Nations tournament has done is it has brought hate back to sports. Now, sports, okay? And it was great that Mike went on this rant about how much he grew up hating the Dallas Cowboys and the Boston Celtics. He's like, I have irrational hate for their teams. And he goes, that's good when you hate teams. And we're all kind of laughing like, here's a Hall of Famer and the New York Sports Bright talking about bringing hate back. But it is. And you're getting a little bit of taste of that because so much of this league in all leagues, it is everybody's friends with everybody's friends on other teams, and there isn't that bad blood. There's bad blood between USA and Canada, and that's awesome. And that has drawn in fans from other sports to be like, wow, they're fighting 3 times in 9 seconds because these guys don't like one another. That's good. That's what's entertaining. That's what makes sports fun. And we were talking about it too. That's what the Bills have done with, honestly, it's never really been the Patriots because it's always been like big brother, little brother. And it's not even as much the Dolphins because the Bills have dominated them so much. Their hatred is really towards the New York Jets. And Deion Dawkins has played into that and has said pretty much like, we hate them. Like, that's awesome. That's what makes those games fun. That's what brings the intensity up. And that's what you love seeing. It has, this Four Nations has the feel of a Stanley Cup atmosphere, which draws in fans across all sports for about, 3 to 4 weeks. So this is great. I think what the Four Nations tournament has done is eliminate the skills competition, the go out there playing pond hockey, that people are going, okay, cool. This Four Nations tournament has knocked it out of the park. The NHL has actually done something correct for once.
Yeah. For me, when was the last time they did something like this?
Yeah.
It really is something, and we'll be watching tonight here. Dan Fates, 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus is our guest. Dan, I'm going to throw a name at you. I'm not going to lead you one way or another, but I just want to get your thoughts. Joey Bosa.
Yeah. I don't think he's a fit. We were literally, before I answered the phone, Mike just said, we should talk about Joey Bosa on the pod. So it's funny that you said that. Maybe have you tapped our station?
Dan, you got to understand, I spent a summer. It was the most memorable summer of my life. So Catalana doesn't claim me from his tree, though. That has always bothered me. That always bothered me.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, like that. I'm not part of his tree. But I digress. Have I tapped you? No, it's one of those things where, all right, here's my take. I'm paying top dollar for Myles Garrett. I'm going to pay top dollar for Max Crosby if you don't get Myles Garrett. Okay. Now this falls into the category of, I don't want to be paying beyond this year here. We remember with Von Miller. Okay, we're paying top dollar for Von Miller, and that didn't get you all that much.
Yeah, I think maybe it's Plan C for the Bills. I don't know what. I can't say I've sat there and watched a ton of Joey Bosa film and kind of things like that. I don't know what his progress is or what he's got left in the tank and hitting the market. It's an interesting point because I'm with you. I understand the thought of top dollar versus value and things like that. I guess I'm sick and tired of value. I'm sick and tired of guys that are very well-rounded. That's my big takeaways, especially as we get ready to head to the combine. I want a guy that's elite. And if it costs being elite, top dollar to be elite, I'm fine with that. So I'm still swinging for the fences. I don't know if you know this, the salary cap's going to go up. I was very surprised to hear that the NFL salary cap was going up. I know. Shocked.
Wow.
Unless there's a global pandemic, the salary cap will go up astronomically. It's what Ryan Russillo's favorite bit is when he's on the Ringer, his podcast. He always talks about it. Like, it is. The league's always going to go up. The league is always going to grow. It's going to get bigger. They're going to figure out numbers now with TV ratings, and everything's going to go up. So understanding that Brandon Beane doesn't like to put a whole lot of things on his credit card, the salary cap's going to go up. So I'm not against Joey Bosa for value, but when it comes to some of these players and they go, oh, they're well-rounded, they're very versatile, they do a lot of things, I want a guy that's a game changer, whether it's edge rusher, whether it's heading to the combine, whether it's all these things. I'm so sick of getting a guy like Xavier Worthy's a prime example. And I've said this the last 2 years as we get ready for the draft. Like, I want a guy that has an A++ trait, and Xavier Worthy's is speed. I don't care that Xavier Worthy can't run block. I don't care. I want guys that are elite. It goes back to, Gene, the baseball analogy is if you throw 102, you don't need to have 5 pitches because you throw 102 miles per hour off the mound. That's what I want to have. That's what I want the Bills to get because that's what I think they're lacking is those top-end talent guys. So I guess my long-winded answer on that is I still want Myles Garrett or Max Crosby.
Yeah, there are instances in the Brandon Beane era because I'm thinking, all right, I really, I've read a little bit. I'm sure you've read a little bit, but we really haven't gotten to the NFL draft season yet. That's going to happen next week when you and Mike and you go out to the combine. We're going to kind of dig in and we'll all plant our flags. I want this guy. I want that guy. Ooh, this guy has character concerns. Here's what I'm going to say. I kind of along with you, like, okay, he's got character concerns. Can the guy play? I think this locker room, Dan, is strong enough to kind of absorb that. And remember, the GM once tried to trade for Antonio Brown. So don't tell me that, I can't sit here and say, oh, the Buffalo Bills have 53 guys and they're all good character guys. I don't know. But what I'm saying, though, is please spare me the character as the reason why you should draft somebody here in 2025.
I agree with that 100%. I want dudes. The Bills have a lot of guys, and that's great. And there are a lot of good guys. That's fine. I want dudes. The only one I will push back on, and as Mike has floated it out there, I don't want Tyreek Hill. I don't want to touch Tyreek Hill with a 10-foot pole. Not only that, I just don't think he fits in with the routes that he's run the last few years, that offense in Miami, which is so high-powered for the most part. He hasn't shown any of that high-powered explosiveness. So if there is a character concern, I will pair that with I don't know what type of player Tyreek Hill is left. So I agree with you, Gene. Get guys that have talent, except Tyreek Hill.
Where do you come down on the wide receiver? Because I always kind of chuckle, and it's just outside speculation when they bring up a Tyreek Hill or Devontae Adams or whoever the receiver that is or may become available, that always the Buffalo Bills are one of the odds-on favorites. Now, we can't bet on this, but I don't know. I just think that people aren't paying attention. That's just my take. I would be surprised if the Bills use their resources this offseason on a big-name, pricey wide receiver.
Yeah, the one is interesting that you were mentioning. I was on with Matt Beauvais, his Always Game Day podcast. He brought up an interesting one that really kind of, perked up my ears. He brought up Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's a bona fide number one guy. As I choke on my water, just like you did, Gene. So sorry. But yeah, Garrett Wilson is a guy that the Jets have to figure out what they're doing. They have botched everything, obviously, in that personnel department. But Garrett Wilson's got to be getting kind of fed up with, we're going to get another rebuild, another rookie quarterback, and they have to make a decision on whether or not when they're going to have to pay him coming up very soon. So why not get more now? Garrett Wilson's a true number one wide receiver, despite the fact that they try to bring in Devontae Adams and all those things. Give Garrett Wilson a real quarterback. I think the guy's a stud. So I would call around the Jets, see how much they're going to go into rebuild mode. What would Garrett Wilson cost me? Go into things like that where I had never thought of his name, and I doubt they'll ever do it in the division, but I'd call and see what it would be like, because even more than T. Higgins, this guy is a stud. He's just been in a miserable situation there with the Jets, and I wonder if he wants out, what he's going to do. Again, a guy that just seems to be awesome on the field when given the opportunity.
See, but that would be what you would be saying would actually be smart for the Jets. That, hey, do we want to pay the wide receiver now? Do we want to pay Sauce Gardner now? The purpose of the Jets, Dan, should be we need to find a quarterback. I think every Bills fan should be rooting for the Jets to go trade for Kirk Cousins. To me, that would be perfect. Lead the team to 7 or 8 wins and be farting around in the postseason, and maybe you break the drought. But that would be, to me, don't give them any ideas on what might ultimately help their franchise long term.
Yeah, that was the one that Beauvais said. Again, great podcast. Shout out to him. He also brought up calling the Dallas Cowboys about Micah Parsons and what would Micah Parsons be. Obviously, you're getting a younger guy that's about to get paid, and if you're talking about Myles Garrett and what that price is. And obviously Micah Parsons' price would be high and you'd have to pay him. And I just started laughing because Beauvais like, well, why would they do that? And was kind of laughing about it. And I was like, he said, well, the Dallas Cowboys are stupid. They're a poorly run team. And all I could think about was Dallas Sports Talk Radio within a matter of months trading away Luka Doncic and then trading away Micah Parsons. That city would just be on fire, and I would just do anything to see that. But again, I wouldn't be making a lot of calls kicking tires on some of these guys where they're poorly run teams. They don't know what they're doing. They're at crossroads. They got to pay a lot of people. They just gave CeeDee Lamb a bunch of money. They gave Dak a bunch of money. Travion Diggs is going to get a bunch of money, and Jerry Jones it's a clown show over there. So maybe you say, hey, we'll throw in I don't know, somebody, and they go, oh, sure, because maybe Dallas media and Dallas sports teams just aren't very smart right now.
Yeah. Gosh. But then Jerry, to go back to the point, hey, the cap kind of went up. We're going to be okay. We're going to, and Jerry always waits to the last second on this. To me, that's one of those, it went up for every team. Like, you're inviting teams now. Like, you don't think in Philadelphia, Dan, we won a Super Bowl. What would it like if we brought in Myles Garrett right now? Yeah,
absolutely. And that's another piece. And again, Howie is a great GM, and they've also drafted well. So I've joked around. Obviously, I always believe the salary cap isn't real. The salary cap really isn't real for the Philadelphia Eagles because every single player on their team is paid in the top 5 of their position. And you go, well, the Bills, you can't pay everybody. The Eagles do. The Eagles find a way. And so I would be using them as an example of they find ways to get things done, and especially if you win, nobody cares. It goes back to the Josh Allen thing. I remember Brandon Beane last year was talking about Josh Allen and, did you give up too much? Well, if you're right, nobody cares. And if you're wrong, you're probably going to get fired anyway. So nobody's going to care then. So I guess I go back to it, too, of don't be scared because the Von Miller thing, quote, didn't work, when in essence, before his torn ACL, Von was that closer. Von was that guy that was making all the plays and was worth every penny that you signed up for because you needed a closer. That was the thought. And I look at guys like whether it's Micah Parsons or, insert player. Even I was thinking, I think I've said it here before, TJ Watt. Like, Pittsburgh's got to make decisions on what they're doing. Their defense needs a complete overhaul as well. What's the price tag for TJ Watt? And I know he didn't have like a tackle for the last 10 games. But every game I always think of, the Steelers' motto was keep it close and then let TJ Watt make a play. And a lot of times he did. So you want a guy that makes splash plays. The Bills aren't – I always used to kind of shrug when Brandon Beane would say, we're not getting run out of the gym here. And it's like, all right, Brandon. But he's right. The Bills maybe lost the AFC Championship game by 3 inches. And maybe those inches they got. So if you want a guy that is those difference maker and those inches plays, it costs money. And you go out and you get a guy. So I understand the value and things like that. I want to get a dude that can make those difference in those big plays.
Dan Fates 13 win Buffalo Plus. One more for you, Dan. And it's not exactly a Bills story, but we connect. How does this relate to Buffalo, where the NFL, and mind you, the NFL, they know how to control a storyline. Don't tell me for a second they don't know who these opponents are going to be that are facing all these teams overseas, as they announced the Chargers in Brazil yesterday. The Chargers are not on the schedule for Buffalo,
right.
But you got the Jets, you got the Dolphins, you've got the Steelers over in Dublin who are hosting a game, and you've got the Browns, Jets, Dolphins. There's one other team.
Yeah.
My question is this. And of all of those teams, gosh, I would rather play the Steelers, Dan, in Pittsburgh than in Dublin. Now, follow me in this. Like, for you and other people, it would be a lot of fun. But yeah. I think the overseas trip is just an equalizer. I don't think the Bills showed at all that they're ready to master the move overseas like they did 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to be on that global stage. And again, I didn't go to London the last year or 2 years ago and things like that. But I guess they keep thinking that it's going to be the Packers. Kind of seems to be the fit there, but then that's kind of lost some steam too, from what I'm hearing. I don't know. The Steelers is still a really cool environment, and I've been to a couple of night games there. Like, Pittsburgh's is a really intense atmosphere. It reminds me a lot of Baltimore. It's a tough place to go in and play, because the game I went to was 2019 when the Bills clinched the playoff spot.
Oh, yeah.
And that Sunday night game, Josh Allen to Tyler Kroft was the game-winning touchdown in the fourth quarter. How about that for you?
Wow.
So I still think that Renegade and all that stuff plays into it. So I'll disagree saying that I think it'd be an advantage. Going overseas is a crapshoot anyway. However you want to handle it, it's difficult no matter what opponent you're playing. It's even difficult for Jacksonville. It's not like they've mastered it either with how often they go over to London. But I'd still rather play Pittsburgh, not in Pittsburgh, than anywhere else.
Finally, it's not a quote from Josh Allen, but pretty darn close here that's making the rounds. For folks who haven't heard this, this is Josh Allen's fiance, Haley Steinfeld.
How many yards is a roughing the passer penalty? 15 yards. Name the 4 teams in the AFC East Division. You got the Buffalo Bills and the Bills' 3 sons.
Oh!
Oh, you hadn't heard that yet? Yeah,
I had not.
Yeah, Haley is asserting herself here. She went on a podcast, and I don't know what she was promoting, but it's her. That's not AI Haley. Kind of dishing it out there just a little bit. As compared to, say, Taylor Swift, Haley's always kind of, doing her own thing. She's got a busy career, but my gosh, that breaks some new ground today.
Yeah. Hey, also, Taylor's got a pretty busy career there too. There, Gene.
All right.
I'll say that. But I do love that aspect. I think she's been embraced by Bills Mafia in her quiet way. I still remember, wasn't that long ago that Dion was pretty much giving us a gospel about how Haley has made Josh Allen a better player because of his happiness on and off the field. And I think that's great, because also the fact of, we always think of football players as robots, and that they're not allowed to have emotions or feelings, or that nothing should affect them, when it does. They're people too. They've got lives. I'm happy that Josh seems to be very happily engaged. He gave her a shout out in his speech, winning the MVP award. It's great. It is like seeing the, kind of the king and queen of Buffalo asserting themselves in the fun that is sports. And again, it goes back to the rivalry. It goes back to hatred. It's great for sports. I think that's really funny that Haley did that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Dan, what is coming up on Buffalo Plus, as well as 13 Women can go check out?
Yeah, we got a podcast coming up right now. We're going to record, talk some more players. And then Sunday, Mike and I head to the Combine. We will hear from Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott Monday and Tuesday. We'll also have one-on-ones with them where Mike and I will get to talk to them, ask them some questions. It's really the best time of the year. It's my favorite. We'll catch up with, all the media personalities. Everybody shows up in Indianapolis and is at bars and restaurants and at a Combine. It's a ton of fun. So we'll have plenty of content all next week that'll pretty much lead us into the draft.
The Steakhouse Elmos in Indy, is that a must-stop or is it overrated?
I have reservations for Monday and Tuesday.
That answers the question. Well,
And
Dan,
it's wild, too.
Yeah.
It's like an old-school steakhouse, like set back in like the 1930s. Like it's kind of got that feel. And on top of it, you just walk in, and then there's Drew Rosenhaus, and then there's a GM, and you're all just sitting there like, oh, hey, I'll have the shrimp cocktail and the navy bean soup. And you're just sitting there like, oh, there's everybody's there. It's wild. We were there when the Bills played in Indy, and to me, it's a must-go-to.
do you ever find yourself like, wait, why are these two guys talking? What is this going to lead to? Do you get those situations?
It's not only that, it's just the fact of like why, like it's almost like you walk in and you're like, I shouldn't be here, but you're just at a restaurant. It's like you go to a bar at the end of the night and you're like, oh, hey, there's Antonio Pierce and there's this head coach and there's this head coach, and you're like, wow, we're all just sitting here drinking beers amongst like college kids. Like it's a wild thing. Trying to explain it to my wife again last night, she's like, you love the combine. I was like, it's the best. It's just a whole ton of fun. It'll be a big content creator for us, so make sure to tune into Buffalo Plus YouTube channel.
Dan, appreciate your time today. And as we say on the show, let's go Mets. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, go Braves.
Dan Fades, 13 Wham. Buffalo Plus joining us on the show today.
Both teams on the board in baseball. Not to
what do we got? What do we got?
Eddie Rosario with the first home run of the spring season.
Who's he playing for now? The Cubs?
He's on the Dodgers now.
He's on the Dodgers, okay.
And Michael Busch reached on an infield single, and Vidal Brujan scored the leadoff hitter tonight for the Cubs. So it's 3-1 in the top of the third. Both of these starters are now out of the game.
It's funny. We will have like the Yankees, the Red Wings playing regular season games, and we won't even barely mention them, just kind of mention in the update. But no, it's the first spring training game. You don't understand. Warmer days are coming, everybody.
Maybe not in here, but yeah, the temperature will rise.
66. See, it's going down.
Yeah.
How is it going down?
And it feels closer to 56, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
With you. But I will survive and thrive. I will just do it very cold.
We will talk more hockey coming up. Michael Leone, the head coach of the Rochester Americans, will be joining us. Love talking to Coach, and certainly I think he might be in a good mood considering his team handled their business last night against Cleveland. They're home tomorrow night against Belleville. Time for your calls on the other side here as we head to the 4 o'clock hour. 866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening to Sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
The center of the sports universe tonight is in Boston. The United States against Canada, the Four Nations final. John Cooper is the head coach of Canada. Cooper knows what's at stake.
I think when you're in the position we're in to make a country proud, to make a country be able to stick its chest out a little bit farther, that's rewarding. And we understand that. But before that puck drops, I don't think anybody will be thinking anything outside of this hockey game other than in winning that game.
The current head coach of the Rochester Americans, Mike Leone, joining us coming up later this hour. The Amerks with the best record in the American Hockey League. The team back home coming up against Belleville tomorrow night. Victor Wembanyama is out for the season. The Spurs' second-year center has a deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The inaugural Four Nations Face-Off Tournament ends tonight with the championship game.
You can't get any more evenly matched than these two teams are. This is a Game 7, right? Winner take all, just kind of one game. It'll be about the goaltending. But even without McAvoy, in fact, they have Hellebuck in net. I'm going with Canada, though. Just kind of like tough for me to see the U.S. beating this team twice in a 5-day span.
The biggest advantage for Canada is the health of USA.
I love hockey. I love international hockey.
I love it. Mike Danger.
Can hockey get here quicker? Please. Hockey. Give us hockey now.
How you going to do that hockey?
Gene Battaglia.
Part of me thinks that, you know what, overall Canada is actually the better team. I'm leaning on the side of Canada if I was going to bet. I don't want to bet on Canada, certainly, but how would you read this matchup coming up tonight?
I think it'll be the best hockey game that you will probably watch this year.
And the final score, the Amerks 4, the Monsters nothing.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Welcome back to Sports Bar. Danger is down at the happiest place on earth. How do I know this? He posted the picture today. Just the one day, I guess, he's out there. I wonder if he crossed paths with another good friend of the show, Matt Perino, because Perino did the... Look, I'm not telling tales out of school. It's right up there on his social media feeds. He did the matching shirts.
Oh, no.
Well, Tim, you don't understand here, buddy. Terrible time, Timmy. Terrible take, Timmy, as he's known on our show. If the boss lady wants to do that, you do that. This is the way it kind of
Well,
works.
there's a reason I guess I don't have a boss.
Well, that's right. Like that's one of those where, okay, you may not like doing that, but if the whole family is going to do that, then you kind of go along. Tim, advice, okay? There are certain battles you fight. There are some you don't. And that one, I would just say you just kind of, let go the other way.
I will put that in the notebook. I will work my hardest to adhere to it, but that is an adjustment to seed that one.
You can call us at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. You can write to us at The Fan Rochester, as Chris in Kentucky did. If the Bills don't land Myles Garrett or Max Crosby, I would think Joey Bosa would make a nice consolation prize. He's better than anyone currently on the Bills roster. Chris, you are top contributor on the show, and you're wrong. Like Greg Rousseau today is better than Joey Bosa. Greg Rousseau is one of the top run defenders in the league. Greg Rousseau is going to get paid next year. And it's one of those, all right, can we afford this? If you don't, let me try to change your thinking here on Joey Bosa, because Joey Bosa, like if I just said, hey, this player had 5 sacks last year, okay, well, what was wrong? He missed a few games. He missed 3. 5 sacks in 14 games. Played in only 14 games the 2 years previous. I'm sorry, Joey Bosa is a brand name.
Yeah, pre-COVID Joey Bosa, all in on that opportunity, but not anymore. I mean,
no.
Solid player, but not for what the cost command will be.
No, like consolation prize. If you mean by consolation prize, if we're talking about, all right, the Chargers caught him and the Bills are going to bring him in on a prove-it deal and spend the money elsewhere, because this team has a few needs here, and defensive tackle, of course, being one of them. Like Joey Bosa, to me, is...
Say it.
Yeah, he's overrated. He's overrated, but I'm just saying, what would you bring him in as? You're not trading anything. It's only a conversation of if he's on the street, do you bring him in? And you didn't get the other guys. You're certainly like you would have the bookends, right? You would have Greg Rousseau on one side, and then you would have ideally Myles Garrett or Max Crosby on the other. I don't think a Joey Bosa and bookending with our guy Greg Rousseau would. I don't know if that would get Bills fans excited.
It shouldn't. It would be a nice name. It would be a cool thing to see at Fisher. But after that, it's a Von Miller type addition at this point in their careers. He's gonna put up respectable numbers, but this team doesn't need respectable numbers. They can find that on the cheap from people we've never heard of before. And Joey Bosa doesn't really move the needle even close to the way that Crosby or Garrett would.
Boy, Dan Fates. That's why I like bringing in guests to the sports bar. Different takes, different opinions, and this kind of comes away at Catalana. But why? One of the reasons we're kind of into this game is like, oh wow, you're talking about the U.S.-Canada tonight. These two teams really don't like one another. And Tim, you think about this. This is like one of the things is it's actually been missing from sport. If you look at the NBA, we point to the low management. You can kind of trace this back to, if you love the NBA, well, gosh, it was the Bulls versus anybody. It was the Lakers against the Celtics. It was these rivalries that you always had. And then, LeBron kind of turned the model on its ear, like, hey, we can be friends and let's kind of team up together in Miami or whatever. And it became more player-centric. And I don't know in the NBA if you have teams that you finger quote hate, but that is something that we're kind of missing. Like, there are still some rivalries, certainly. Not what it used to be, but Steelers-Ravens is always, okay, you're paying attention to that, and it'll probably be kind of an uglier game there. Still Yankees-Red Sox, maybe with the Red Sox improving their roster a bit. That will be, something. But what rivalries do we even have? Even UNC Duke is kind of like, it's not anything that I'm, stopping and, making plans around now these days.
Yeah, that's not what it used to be for sure. I mean, you can go all the way back. Ironically, the Dream Team, like Isaiah Thomas, not welcome because Michael Jordan was there. There's no way that you can have these two guys work together, and now you've got teams building or players building dynasties wherever they choose to do it. Like bringing Wade, Bosch, and James together and doing whatever Kevin Durant has done in the many stops that he's had and failed in most of them. But
yeah, and part of me actually respects Lamar Jackson for admitting, like, hey, you and Josh Allen, no, we're not friends.
Yeah, I respect his talent, but we're not buddies.
We're not buddies, yeah. Like, that's where, like, you like, the hate in sports, the money is just so great. And here's something that, okay, it's for the pride of your country. Heck of a job by Tortorella, too, to get these guys kind of bought in and dropping the gloves. And I brought this up, yesterday. How would you feel if, like, you were there down in the ice and your anthem is you're hearing boos? You're taking that personally.
Yeah, I mean, even Brad Marchand was like, why are they doing this? I don't agree with it. That's not very nice. And Brad Marchand is one of the most hated players in all of the National Hockey League, both by players and fans. And when you've got guys basically but showing you a new level or layer of themselves based on what is happening in the arena, like we've uncovered something here in hockey that we have not seen in many a year.
Nick writing in, and I know him a little bit. He's a producer for the Fan up in Toronto, saying, we're not booing you, we're booing him. Okay, that's kind of fair, but I don't know how you separate the two when him is not there.
I understand it, but at the same when it's happening, it's like, why? He's not even here. Like, we're sure. I understand the premise and the reason.
We all do. We all do.
Come on,
like,
do it somewhere. Do it somewhere else, I guess, or do it in a place. I don't know. It's the same kind of thing that we've fallen into the trap for about a decade of this anthem vitriol, and tonight it comes to a head in the U.S. this time instead of Canada. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask the question to Mike Leone later this hour because two Canadian teams come into Rochester this week,
yes.
And be there for the Amerks, boo the Belleville Senators, boo the Toronto Marlies, but let's just kind of be above it all. I don't think that we need to carry that over. That's just my opinion. Support this Amerks team because, boy, I don't know when we're going to get a team that is really this good on the ice. Tim, we're kind of getting a little older here. If there's a guy that, hey, this was kind of a cornerstone of the Buffalo Bills turnaround. Today, announcing his retirement, John Feliciano was on that Bills offensive line, first offensive line with Josh Allen, 2019, 2020, 2021. But then he jumps over with Brian Dable over the Giants and then kind of bounces around. He does the I'm retiring, but if the phone should ring, I'm
the
available.
half retirement.
Yeah,
I'll play for a winner come December. I respect it. If I have no idea, obviously, what it's like to be an NFL football player. And the toll that takes on your body over the course of a career has to be something that is indescribable. And if you just need a couple beats to get back right, that's fine. But to phrase it as a retirement, but also say, let me know, like my phone is on, my phone is in my hand.
Right. Like, I think the way Micah Hyde kind of did it was, hey, let me translate, or let me just kind of point out something here. When we get to March and you hear about the signing bonuses, you get paid for the signing bonus. That's exciting, right? Okay, now you're into year 2, year 3 of the contract. Are you getting paid now? In March? April, May, June, July? No, you're not. You are only, whatever your salary is, divide that by 17. That's it. Okay, it's not like me and you where we get a paycheck every 2 weeks, okay? You are contracted, and this is how we're going to pay you over the course of the 17 weeks. And the signing bonus, hey, that's why you get roster bonuses, you get signing bonuses. Those things you can kind of negotiate along the way. That's why a lot of these guys are like, okay, if I'm not going to get paid and I'm not even sure I'm going to be on the team, well, then that's it. That's how these decisions kind of get sped up here a little bit. And if you're John Feliciano, I mean, is he at age 33? Is he going to be like on the team? That's what kind of sucks about the NFL. You're going to go through all this off-season stuff. The mini camps in April and May, and they're mandatory a couple of times. You got to keep yourself in shape, certainly. And then you get to training camp, which again you're not paid for. Not paid for the preseason games. And then you finally get to, the regular season. And now I can understand why any of these athletes are like, yeah, you know what? If the phone rings, translation, yeah, when the check comes, I'll be showing up.
When you've got the ability, obviously he's had an extensive career as well, so he's not hurting for money, I would assume at this point. If you've got the capability of saying, yeah, I'll take these 8 to 10 months to myself, enjoy it, and maybe I do change my mind and I like being out of the game and I'm good here, that's fine too. But it sounds like he's keeping the door open for like a very similar to what Hyde did, but minus the practice squad. I think if he's going to be there, it's going to be on the 53 with the intention of winning something in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a different team 2019 where you realize how much this has changed this team. John Brown, Devin Singletary, Cole Beasley, Frank Gore. Dawson Knox was on that team. Yeah, senior. That's important to point out. Isaiah McKenzie, the third running back, TJ Yeldon. And who could forget Duke Williams, too? Patrick DeMarco was sticking around as a... That's how...
Fun roster, not a great one.
Once you get the quarterback, it's like you can change the cast of characters around. That was a roster that made the postseason, that had double-digit wins. And, okay, Frank Gore is going to be a Hall of Famer, not for anything he did in Buffalo. There's nobody else on that offense that would be a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah. No, outside of, obviously, Josh Allen. No, but those names that you just listed off were complimentary players on a team that found its way into the playoffs. Never really a Super Bowl contender. But, again, like I guess once you're in, you're in. And once you're in, more people want to join you, and better ones at that. And look at them now.
This now this is starting to make the rounds today. We played this for Dan Fates. He didn't hear this too. So Josh Allen, of course, higher profile, and with that higher profile is his fiance, Haley Steinfeld, and she took a football IQ quiz. Okay. This was just a recent video shoot. I'm not sure. I want to give the credit where it is, so forgive me for not going to who actually owns this, but this is Haley Steinfeld just taking this football IQ quiz.
How many yards is a roughing the passer penalty? 15 yards. Name the 4 teams in the AFC East Division. You got the Buffalo Bills and the Bills' 3 sons.
Nailed it. She knows her football.
Oh, wow. That was one of those like, okay, is this really... they set her up for that, obviously.
She might legitimately not know the answer, but she knows that they are losing to the Bills continually.
So now Nesson has picked this up. The New York Post has picked this up. Yeah, teams that are also in the AFC East. She's right.
No lies detected in that one.
She is right. Like, is there any team, is anybody worried about the Bills being dethroned in the AFC East this year?
Shouldn't. There might be some, but shouldn't.
Here's if there's the closest team. We said this, okay? We were ahead of this curve. Pat myself on the back. The Patriots. The Patriots are down and out. Like, hey, if they make a few changes, they have Drake May. Now they have a respectable coach. They should play more physical. I think the Patriots certainly could take one game from Buffalo next year. Well, they did this year, but did that really count?
No, that one did not.
What is the Jets' plan at quarterback? I honestly, in talking with Dan Fates, bringing up the interesting point, would Garrett Wilson be on the block? Not Myles Garrett, but Garrett Wilson. Well, if the Jets are trying to go about finding their next quarterback and just realizing, hey, but we should find the quarterback and build around that quarterback. And by doing so, do we want to pay these guys? Is this the timeline to build the team? Paying a Garrett Wilson, paying a Sauce Gardner for a team that had a losing record? The answer probably should be no. Probably you should trade for them while their value is at peak right now, and let some other team pay them.
I'm very curious to see what they do end up doing. I mean, you've got Kirk Cousins as something that is out there and available. You cannot do Daniel Jones. That would be absolute insanity for him to go. Well, for him to go back to New York, but also for the Jets to do that.
No, the weird one is, what do we make of the hubbub around Matthew Stafford and the Rams? Now, so Matthew Stafford and the Rams, hey, they had a nice year, but what, are you going to have one more year of Matthew Stafford? 2 maybe? They have to be thinking about the future in L.A., and Sean McVay fancies himself, well, he is. He knows a thing or two about offense. I don't know. I like Matthew Stafford getting traded. I see to the Giants, but what about the Jets? That wouldn't concern me either. Get a quarterback like that, because you know what? You're not going to catch the Buffalo Bills. In fact, you'll feel better about yourself because what? You'll go up to 7, 8, maybe even 9 wins. Where does that get you in the end?
I mean,
no, it doesn't get you anywhere.
It builds to the future, perhaps, or it sets you back because you're stuck in the middle and you can't really build from the middle. You kind of have to bottom out, and the Jets have been bottoming out for over a decade now, but have very little to show for it. You could bring in Stafford, but is he going to raise the bar? He's an upgrade over Aaron Rodgers at this point in their lives, but it doesn't really mean anything because a lot of people are upgrades over Aaron Rodgers at this point in his football life.
No, it's not right. They have more problem. Their defense was paper thin last year. The Jets are a major work in progress, so they're not going to dethrone Buffalo in 2025. I'm comfortable in saying that. And the Dolphins paid Tua. The Dolphins are 2 different teams. I'll just kind of admit that, but that just shows me that their head coach can't win games when the quarterback is a little different. You can't adapt it different ways. I think Mike McDaniel has been exposed in Miami. He's not this wonder-con genius here that can win in different styles.
Yeah, he's a decent coach with the correct personnel. If you don't have and I suppose you can say that for a lot of people, but if you don't have the guys that you need to build a winning program with, it's tough to do. And you're going from Tua, who is fine, very good, I suppose we can maybe push it to Skylar Thompson. I mean, that's the world coming out from under you. But McDaniel has done nothing beyond Tua to succeed in Miami. Even we've got rumors of Tyreek Hill, and he squashed them allegedly. These guys don't want to be there. Why?
Yeah. We will talk to head coach Michael Leone of the Rochester Americans. Your first place. Rochester Americans are home Friday night against Belleville, Saturday at 5:05. The Teddy Bear Toss. Ever been to one of those, Tim?
Never been to one. I've worked a couple against the Amerks.
Okay, I've been to one. I've got advice for everybody on that. They're fun. It's a great cause, too. We will talk to the head coach of the Amerks coming up next year on The Fan in Rochester.
Sports Update.
United States against Canada. One game tonight for the Four Nations Championship. Mike Sullivan is the head coach of Team USA.
There's two really good teams. They're going to compete extremely hard and do everything they can to win. How good is that for hockey? It's an unbelievable celebration of hockey. The pace of play will be as fast-paced as what you saw in the first game. Both teams will be emotionally invested. There'll be physicality to the game. For me, it's everything that's good about hockey. I just think it's a great celebration of hockey. Both of these teams are really good.
8 p.m. tonight on ESPN. The Amerks now with the best record in the American Hockey League. They're back home tomorrow night against Belleville. Head coach Mike Leone joining us next here in the Sports Bar. Bad news out of the NBA today where Victor Wembanyama is out for the season. The Spurs center has a deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, we're all behind Team USA, right? Like, well, the team that actually wears Americans across the crest. Now, the best record in the American Hockey League as we welcome in, kind enough to move the segment to today, head coach Mike Leone. Coach, congratulations on the win over Cleveland last night after kind of a down game on Sunday. How important was that, for your team to come back out and play Amerks hockey the way they should?
Yeah, no, it was a really good win from our group. Sunday I didn't necessarily think we played bad. There's probably a few, Dev would like to have back, but it happens throughout the course of the season. Or, some nights you're going to have bad games, but we responded really well as a group. I really liked the way we played, and it was a big win to start our new kind of 3-game segment we're on.
Yeah, this is tough here, but at least they're all at home. 3 games in 4 days, today being the off day. And getting the points last night, Coach, you now are not only tops in the division, tops in the American Hockey League. What does that mean to you to have that distinction right now?
It's a credit to the group, I think, for the consistency that, that they've shown all season. And just, it's not easy the division we're in, the league. The poor points are hard to come by, and we know there's still a lot of hockey to be played, and we got to keep playing team hockey and keep getting better. And it was a good step in the right direction. But I think more just a credit to the group and the buy-in. Anytime we are where we are right now, there's a lot of things that have to happen. You got to be really good on special teams. If you look at our penalty kill, I think we're top 3 in the league. Power play's getting better. Our 5-on-5 play, our goals against, what we're scoring per game. So there's a lot of things, and and you got to have depth. Our depth of scoring. If you look at our team, it's probably near the top of our goal scoring from all 4 lines, and the D are contributing, and then two really good goalies that are playing great hockey right now. So it's just important for our group to not become complacent, and we got a really tough schedule just the rest of the way with the teams we're playing. So just kind of move on one game at a time and just reset the focus for tomorrow night's game.
Yeah, and before I ask you about Levi, and I don't know, but I have to ask you, like, do we know anything about your Sandstrom as far as a return, Coach?
Yeah, just with Sandy, I'm not going to get into too many details, but he went home back to Sweden. There's a family matter that I think, anytime it comes down to family, and I think we play a kids game, and we're professional athletes, but yeah, I think it's, family comes first, and Sandy, there's a really important matter he had to get to at home, and, from the organization and our management team, I think it was really important. I know he was really appreciative to get home, and then no timetable on when he'll be back, but we'll be happy when he does come back.
Yeah, he's certainly we certainly earned his stripes here in Rochester, no doubt about that this season. As has Devin Levi, and goaltending is such a tough sport mentally, as you know, Coach. But Devin Levi, even at this young age, seems to have the wherewithal after what happened Sunday, and you can't get back on the ice right away in terms of a game setting. What does it say about Devin Levi after what you could say might have been his worst game on Sunday, turning in one of his best efforts the following game?
Yeah, no, it's. If you look at last weekend, he gave up 4, he gave up 9 goals in 2 games. It's tough mentally for a goalie sometimes, but it's a part of. It's just, I think sometimes as a goalie you get scrutinized when you do give up a lot, but there's 5 other players on the ice, and we had to do a better job defending, and I think that was a message to the group. But he's been rock solid all year. He's having a great season for us. His ability to bounce back, and I just thought last night we played really well defensively in front of him. And then when he had to make saves, he made those saves. And yeah, he's been a rock for us all year. And I think it's good to go through. You never want to give up 4 or 5 goals a game, but every goalie's going to go through it. There's been nights where the 2 goalies playing tonight have been pulled, and Hellebuck and Binnington, and it's a part of your development and your resolve as a player and a goalie is just to all you have is your next game and just focus on that. And Dev did a great job, and he was huge for us last night.
Coach, where are you watching the game tonight?
Just at my place. I'll be watching it. I wish it started like an hour earlier. That would be nice. It says 8:00, but by the time they go through,
yeah,
I'm sure USA will have someone out there for the puck drop. Canada will, and the anthem. So it'll be a late night.
When was the last time you've mentioned this on the show before? You're close with John Cooper. When was the last time you talked to the team, the coach of Keith Canada?
I actually sent him a text yesterday, and I just said good luck.
We want to. Yep. You can you're friends with him. We don't want you to win, but good luck, right?
No, yeah, it's tough. I got my heart's in one place, my head's in another place, so it's tough. I'm just excited to watch. You guys played that clip with Mike Sullivan. I think it's just it's hockey in its purest form. The checking, how teams defend. If you look at the first game, it's about defending, and the margin for error is really small. Canada had a turnover from one of the best players to ever play, and it's 2-1, and that's a game. So it really is great to watch as a coach. I'm sure it's going to be a really intense physical game, and no, I'm really excited.
Yeah, well, Coach, why? A tough question here, because as you compare it to other sports, and you follow other sports, but the NBA All-Star Game is, what is it? Major League Baseball game. Who's out there? What is it in the culture of hockey that this means so much to these guys hitting the ice here tonight?
Yeah, no, I think PK Subban, I don't know if you guys saw that clip. He talked about it on. He had a couple basketball NBA guys, but I think it's just the culture of hockey. There's guys playing through injuries all the time. I'm sure there's a lot of injury these guys are playing through right now that no one knows about. I'm sure there's broken fingers, broken hands, and it's just the win at all costs mindset and paying the price to ultimately. I'm sure tonight is going to be like a Stanley Cup final game, like a Game 7. I really feel like the game is going to be played like that, and I think it's just. And you look at both teams, like how many guys have played in Stanley Cup finals, how many guys that have won. And, I know Canada basically picked a roster of how many guys have won a Stanley Cup. I think there's a lot to be said with that, playing in those pressure situations when, the stage is the biggest, and, some guys have the ability to thrive in those situations, and some guys are not meant for that moment. So I'm really excited to see that part of the game tonight.
Coach, here's my take on this. I'm sure you'll agree, because we do have 2 Canadian teams coming to town, and regardless of whatever happens tonight during the game, or let's say before the game, let's not boo the anthem this weekend. Let's just boo the Marlies certainly, or boo, get on them. But show support for Rochester. But I'm making a plea to everybody. Let's just kind of do our own thing here in Rochester.
Yeah. I'm probably more. I think when you think about the national anthem and the people that have fought for our country and things like that, that's what I think about it. And it's a moment of the game where I think it's great. I like hearing both anthems, and it's a part of the game. And I know there's a lot going on in the world today, but I think it's just a great time to respect both countries and go out there and just play a game. I think we're playing a kid's game, and whoever wins takes it home. But I agree with you. I'm just, sometimes you sit back and laugh, but then sometimes it's a little over the top for me. But I'm with you on this one.
Michael Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans, home Friday against Belleville. Saturday, talk about earlier starts. I love the earlier start on a Saturday, Coach. You don't get too many home games a Saturday. 5:05 against the Marlies, and it's a good day to bring the family because it is a teddy bear toss. Have you ever been involved in one of these at any level, Coach?
Yeah. Actually, when I was in Green Bay last year, we had great fans supporting Green Bay. The second half of the season, we're around 7,500. We usually sold out that game around 8,000, so it was pretty incredible.
Well, here's my advice for anybody. I've been involved in one of these, and this was at the Frank Ritter Arena, which I don't even use anymore, Coach. Teddy bear toss. I'm ready to do this, and I'm ready to throw my teddy bear down onto the ice, but where I am, I've got to get it up and over the protective netting, and I missed. There's nothing worse than, hey, if you don't get everything behind the throw there, you got to make sure. You've also got to score you got to get this out of the way. Can we arrange for a quick goal by the Amerks on Saturday?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Yeah. Wednesday took a little longer. We didn't score to the second, but I just hope we score. That's the biggest thing. But yeah, that would be nice to get off to a really good start and get the crowd into it early, for sure.
The Amerks home Friday, 7:05, Saturday at 5:05. Always a pleasure talking to the head coach, Mike Leone, giving us a few minutes here on a Thursday. Coach, look, enjoy the game tonight. We're just going to be.
Yeah, what do you guys think? What's the score? You guys didn't even say a prediction.
Oh, I'm not going to be the guy that picks against the United States.
All right.
But that being said,
score?
That being said, 2-1, and I don't feel good about it, Coach. I just think that Canada's
2-1.
got 2-1. Tim, what do
you
got, buddy?
If you're wrong, we got to make sure we play the clip.
Oh, we're 100% accountable here.
3-2.
3-2.
I'm saying 4-2. I'm not picking a winner. 4-2.
Fair answer.
Fair answer there.
One more before you go. This team outside of the Hartford game would be almost certainly the least penalized team in the league. Is that something that is coached up or just an IQ thing? How is that team so responsible, I suppose, keeping out of the box?
Our team, you're saying?
Yeah, without the Hartford game, it would be have under 500 penalty minutes.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think part of the reason why we've been, obviously there are certain situations in a game you want to stick up for your teammates, but I think we've played with the puck a lot this year. Like if you look at the percentage of games that we have the puck in possession time, ozone time, like last game was, I think, 8 minutes of ozone time to 3 against. So I think when you have the puck a lot, the team's chasing you around and you're going to get more penalties drawn. So I think that's a big part of, I think it's really important, if you don't, for our 5-on-5, we're a really good 5-on-5 team. We stay disciplined and we're out of the box, and it's a 5-on-5 game. We like that because we're a really good 5-on-5 team. I think sometimes when you're taking a bunch of penalties, you're in the box, certain guys don't get out there. So it's a big thing to discipline with the team.
Mike Leone, thank you so much for your time today. Go get him. Go get the 4 points, and we'll do this again next week.
Okay, have a good night, guys.
All right,
enjoy
the
game.
Thanks, Coach. Mike Leone joining us on the show here today. And good. Again, thank you for moving that to today, as he normally joins us every Tuesday at 4:25. But, heck, just feels like a natural day to talk some hockey here. Does it not? Like the idea.
I don't know if I've ever been this excited since, I was in middle school, and it was the Cups or the Stars and the Sabres, and we know how that ended. Now, like, I'm excited. Like, I'm typically excited for hockey, but this is a different kind of excitement.
Well, we all have our personal stories about this. So my son, he's a freshman at Alfred State, and I'll text him, not every day, but like we try to like. But when do we get to talk? I'm busy, he's busy, whatever. We're making it a point. We're both watching the game tonight. Hey, I'm going to call you at the end of the first period. Like, that's kind of like you the way you want to kind of do it. And then you kind of break it. I do that with my dad all the time,
right,
with the Buffalo Bills. Like, it's a big game when you're going to deconstruct the game when you get to the first intermission.
Yeah, this is appointment television tonight, and that hasn't really been able to be stated about hockey at a national level in a really, really long time. I'm pumped for this.
It also is an interesting angle that if you didn't know, so the head coach of Canada is John Cooper. He's also the head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And before he became the head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning and the head coach of the Syracuse Crunch and going all the way back, he coached juniors. He coached Mike Leone. So, Mike Leone considers him a mentor.
Right.
And that's how, once you play for somebody, once you're tight, you will be on text chains. You will, the hockey community, you will stick with that person, for years, if not decades. And the idea that Mike Leone...
Oh, he's got inside information. Tonight. You could tell in the way that he was answering and not answering that he's got some inside information on this Team Canada thing that most people in the U.S. do not have.
Okay, so he just brought up the point about the Stanley Cup experience.
Right. And you look at what is going on in the hockey world right now, and it's February and it's hockey season, but it's not hockey season. It hasn't been for 2 weeks, and this is peak hockey. And the Amerks season, obviously, in full swing, and they're in the top of the league, and everything is going swimmingly here. But when's the last time we devoted most of a show to hockey?
Oh, I will tell you. When the Amerks lost the deciding game, when we were out of the Blue Cross Arena back in May, we were all excited. Hey, can they actually pull off? Because if you remember last Amerks season, that should have happened the week prior. They're down 3-0 entering the third. And if you were like me, I'm like, wait, they tied it? Oh, my gosh. You could run to the radio and oh, my gosh, you're kidding me. And you kind of have this pride, and somehow Syracuse was able to bounce back. Bummer. It's a different Amerks team. And I'm glad you asked him that question about penalty minutes. It's if you have the puck, more often than not, you're not the one committing the penalty. So that's been kind of a benefit for Rochester.
They've done, and again, the number on that is they had almost 100 penalty minutes in that one game alone, and without that, they'd be far and away the most disciplined team. And that was a game where all penalty minutes were good because they were retribution, actually, ironically, for Felix Sandstrom, who was run in their previous meeting against that team earlier in the season, back in October or November.
Yeah. Appreciate your comments. The Fan Rochester, our handle. You can also reach us at 866-4326-585, 866-4326. We'll take a quick break and, have some more thoughts on this. We will discuss, some football as well. Things are happening. And, we'll give you a baseball update, too, on this chilly February afternoon here in Rochester. It's a sports bar here on 95.7 The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey app. This is The Fan, Rochester.
You know, every once in a while there's a story like, okay, is the universe trying to tell you something? Welcome back to the Sports Bar here. As we'll talk a little baseball here. Thanks again to Michael Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans, for stopping by. Today, all right, fun day. We opened the show like, yes, first pitch, Cactus League. Woohoo! Cubs and Dodgers, here we go. And you got Mookie Betts out there, and you've got some guys in the Cubs lineup. And, well, then you have this. And when you get home tonight, or maybe you are listening from home, maybe this has come across your feed. Pitcher for the Dodgers, his name is Bobby Miller. He was drilled in the head by a comebacker. Cubs first baseman Michael Busch was the batter here. And again, you don't fault Michael Busch. This is just one of those things, right? And because everything is measured, StatCast and everything else, that line drive was at 106 miles an hour, and it goes right off his forehead, which is just a few inches away from, we're not talking about Bobby Miller in a way that we would ever want to. Tim, this was a huge story in baseball over a decade ago that, my gosh, somebody on the field is actually going to die. Let's put in preventative measures to try to combat that, because you know what, players are getting stronger, and there's no way you can react to that in time. If you have a 106 mile an hour line drive coming back at your head and you're off balance to begin with, you're not going to be able to react in time. That is just not possible. Well, at the time, okay, you know what, it's time that we wear some protective gear, and it was a hat that kind of made you look like the Great Gazoo from the old days. And there was a few players that did it, and credit to them, but ultimately it wasn't cool, and maybe it wasn't masculine enough, or whatever the reason, that just kind of went away. I'm just wondering if we're paying attention here. Hey, can we have this conversation? Because Bobby Miller, hopefully he's going to be okay. But when you look at this video, holy cow, the guy is getting drilled in the head. Name me a more dangerous position in the Big Four sports today than Major League Baseball pitcher. This is the biggest danger of anything. And I'm including the NFL, Tim, on that.
You're taking a risk every time, and these guys are throwing at a level that most humans cannot conceive. You are out of position, as you are so prone that even if you do avoid it, it's by mistake. Like, your hand just happens to catch it, or you glance off of it. You are not reacting at a ball thrown 100 coming back at you 112 in a way that you know that you're going to be able to protect yourself appropriately. Those hats that went viral last year in football, like the Josh Allen Thursday Night Football one, sure, you're going to look like a goof.
Yeah.
But if it's going to save your life, I'm wearing that.
No, well, it's, again, I just hope we don't get to like a story at some point, because one of these times it's not, I just fear it's not going to end good. This is actually how it's written from Yahoo Sports. After an injury delay, Miller eventually walked off the field under his own power with a rapidly growing goose egg on his right temple.
Oh, the swelling on that is insane. When the pictures come out, you're going to be like, holy crap, how did he get up on his own?
How did he live?
And that as well. And,
yeah.
And it feels crappy, because when we were doing the update earlier about the scoring, that was the infield single, but you don't know it just from the box score. Like, that was the infield single that he hit. He hit a guy in the skull. The ball probably went into foul territory. A run scored on that play. And Bobby Miller is grateful to be breathing right now, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, that's nuts.
Yeah, I just think that, get ready for that. Like, what will be a storyline tomorrow on, Maggie and Perloff and every other show. Like, hey, here's just a reminder that this story we were talking about before is, we're playing with fire here, essentially.
Yeah, there's been even guys on the Red Wings. They made their debuts a couple of seasons ago. Jackson Rutledge and Drew Millis. Drew Millis is the Nationals catcher. In Jackson Rutledge MLB debut game, Millis tried to throw somebody out stealing, and Jackson Rutledge is like 6'8". He threw it off of Rutledge's head. That's preventable if given proper equipment. I mean, he still gets hit in the head, but it doesn't eject him from the game or remove him from the game.
the dangerous positions. And I guess I could say this too, like, hey, is it something that that is a dangerous position? But in hockey, we actually have somebody die overseas. Like that is also, that's also kind of a.
And that instantly changed how people operate, though. It's a mandate in the American Hockey League now. You need to wear neck protection.
It should be mandated at every level.
It's not in the NHL because they're too big and macho. I don't know.
Yeah,
they need it to happen to one of their friends, I guess. I don't know, but just wear it. If the thing is out there to protect you and it doesn't inhibit your play whatsoever, why would people avoiding helmets until people were grandfathered in? I remember
Craig McTavish,
Charlie Huddy, like down here in Rochester, the last couple of years of his career, he was a player coach, but he didn't have to wear a bucket. Put the helmet on, man. Like why? Like. What does it prove at this point in your life? Like, you're strong enough to wear that off the face?
Okay, can we extend this to Guardian caps? And here's where I'm at with Guardian caps. I think we need more data. What are you talking about, Gene? You have the padding. It's like, well, yes, but does that allow you to play the game like you shouldn't? Like, do you follow me on that?
No,
like, you shouldn't.
If you can play recklessly or whatever.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't. Like, if you play the game the right way and you're wearing a Guardian cap, then absolutely you do the Guardian cap. And you look at that and feel like, what is that? Oh, that's the Guardian cap. That's what Taylor Rapp is wearing. And I get it for somebody that's going through post-concussion, but why, if we're really about making the game safer, why, and again, need more data, I suppose, but you would think the Guardian cap would make everybody safer.
I want to live in a world, I'm being facetious before I get in trouble, where we're doing this Team USA Canada game and the goalies aren't wearing helmets. That happened. That was a thing for like years.
How, can you imagine going back in time? Like, how could you be a goalie and not wear a mask? Did they not lift the puck back then? What was it?
It had to be the technology of the equipment. It had to be. Right? Or just
the cost. Could it be just the masks were so expensive back then? I don't know.
I don't have that answer either, but the fact that it existed for so long, like I am not that old. I'm old, but I am young enough to probably not have ever seen somebody playing a National Hockey League game without a helmet on. And I recall two specifically Craig McTavish and Charlie Huddy. I'm sure there were countless others, but like those are the two that stick out to me. And that was in the 90s.
For that matter, like, take it a step further, like you had players not wearing the visor. You kidding me? I like my eyesight.
Sure,
yeah. Like why would I risk that?
That's a mandate across all leagues.
Yeah, and I remember the thing was like, well, I need to hear, I need to feel the wind on my face. Okay, you know what? Then just go skate out on a pond or something. I remember hearing that excuse. I'm like, really? Funny. Like how? Like, will football look different with Guardian caps? Will baseball?
Yeah, is it played different? I don't understand. Like people hate change. I totally understand that. I'm not a huge fan of change, but if it's change to like keep you alive, I think that's something like even that seatbelt in a car, people were against at some point. Like, just get used to it.
If you're just getting in your car, Dodgers pitcher, first preseason game, first spring training game, Cactus League, second-year pitcher Bobby Miller, hit in the head by 106 mile-an-hour line drive, goes off essentially his temple. Somehow he got up. The swelling is disgusting. And what I predict him is that, okay, this is now going to be a conversation that every team sees this. And now, all right, we should consider this a warning. Like, okay, maybe it is serendipity. Like, hey, maybe we should just learn from this. And, because you can't guarantee that the next time this will happen, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, if this was a game just in the middle of spring where people are just getting into, like, this kicked off baseball. And in the third inning of the first game since the World Series, we've got a devastating injury to a guy who's in his early 20s, and he might end up completely fine. But this is going to at least set him back a little bit. And who knows what kind of psyche changes that does. You're wearing one off the face to kick off your season.
So, yeah, Bobby Miller is a guy who kind of bounced in between Oklahoma City and the Dodgers last year. So, like, well, after this, I'd be kind of surprised if he starts the season with the Dodgers. Let's take a quick break. We got happy hour coming your way next, which means we have time for your calls at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. We'll talk more hockey next hour also with the head coach of the RIT Tigers, Wayne Wilson, who'll be stopping by, along with Terrible Take, Timmy Schneider. My name is Gene Battaglia, the Fan.
And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
The United States and Canada. So game worth tuning into tonight. It's the Four Nations final from Boston. John Cooper is the head coach of Canada. He knows what's at stake.
I think when you're in the position we're in to make a country proud, to make a country be able to stick its chest out a little bit farther, that's rewarding. And we understand that. But before that puck drops, I don't think anybody will be thinking anything outside of this hockey game other than winning that game.
The Amerks now with the best record in the American Hockey League. This after the win over Cleveland. The team back home tomorrow night against Belleville. Toronto coming to town Saturday at 5:05. Victor Wembanyama, he's out for the season. The Spurs' second-year center has a deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The inaugural Four Nations Face-Off tournament ends tonight with the championship game.
You can't get any more evenly matched than these two teams are. This is a game 7, right? Winner take all, just kind of one game. It'll be about the goaltending. But even without McAvoy, in fact, they have Hellebuck in net. I'm going with Canada, though. Just kind of like tough for me to see the U.S. beating this team twice in a 5-day span.
The biggest advantage for Canada is the health of USA.
I love hockey. I love international hockey.
I love it. Mike Danger.
Can hockey get here quicker? Please. Hockey. Give us hockey now.
How you going to do that hockey?
Gene Battaglia.
Part of me thinks that, you know what, overall Canada is actually the better team. I'm leaning on the side of Canada if I was going to bet. I don't want to bet on Canada, certainly, but how would you read this matchup coming up tonight?
I think it'll be the best hockey game that you will probably watch this year.
And the final score, the Amerks 4, the Monsters nothing.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
We try to keep it warm in here for the sports bar. Welcome back in. Happy hour here in the sports bar. To my theory, Tim, that they turned down the heat at 5 o'clock. The thermometer's going down here.
Oh, that's just science, man.
That's well, you can attest to when you're here.
Gloves.
Yeah, when you're running the.
When I'm in here by myself,
yeah.
I don't even think that I am in here. Like my soul is in here. My body sits in my car and waits for the game to end. And this is run on autopilot every single time I'm in here when the sun is down.
I just gotta have to laugh. Like, we'll get to someday in July. Like, yeah, remember what it was like in the winter there, where we just didn't have the heat we needed. Yeah.
Well, what's gonna happen is the AC is gonna go, and then it's gonna be 104. There is no happy. There is no satisfaction within these walls. We're all just angry all the time, and it's because. Is it where we're from? Is it Rochester? Like, I love it here, but
you should be happy you have a first place hockey team. You got the Amerks rolling here. You've got your Browns. You're gonna reset for the future with trading Myles Garrett. You're gonna
great segue from the Amerks, the best team in the league, to the Browns, who left the league, and I should have left them too.
You're gonna have the Guardians with a brand new kind of stadium there. They're gonna redo it there. The other hot football note today we haven't gotten to, and I'm like, wait a second. Teams saying they need a new stadium. Okay. I would say probably top of the list right now in the NFL would be Washington, right? We kind of expect that. You mean to tell me they're talking about a new stadium in Houston, Texas?
They didn't even get rid of the first one yet.
No. So it's like the Astrodome, which looks like this tiny little thing compared to the behemoth they built. There's just one question. What's the word I'm thinking of? Oh, I know the word. Why? Why would you need a new stadium? You just built one 30 years ago.
It was 2000, I think, was their debut
23 years
season.
ago.
So they've been around, and apparently 25 years is the expiration date on all things technology. What is happening? How is this a thing?
How is that a thing? Right. So, okay. Like, the way they're spinning it, well, there's going to be maintenance that we're going to need here on the stadium, and the cost of the maintenance, why don't we just look? I mean, that is just Texas to a T. They want to show you their wealth. They want to show, like, Jerry World is Jerry because Jerry had to do it bigger than anyone else. The Texas Rangers had a nice stadium, kind of old style, but you know what? You know what? We need AC. Big old monstrous dome let's build here for the Texas Rangers.
The high school stadiums there. Some of the Division III, Mary Hardin Baylor, were you able to go down to that, or was that somebody else?
That was somebody else with
We
Peter,
covered that game a decade or so ago for St. John Fisher, and that Division III stadium is better than some NFL practice facilities. It was unbelievable.
Just high school stadiums in the state of Texas. So maybe it's from that cultural standpoint, it's not a surprise that, because can you imagine, okay, we're going to go in and it's the year 2026 and boy, this was expensive. Yeah, that was our tax dollars and you might have paid the PSL there. Not really fun, but can you imagine having the conversation about a new Bill Stadium 23 years after that?
If we're talking new Bill Stadium in 2050, I'm logging off. It's done.
No. I don't I never want to have this conversation about a Bill Stadium ever again in my lifetime. I don't plan on living that long, Tim. Okay, honestly, 23 years is stupid. That is absolutely stupid down in Houston. You have no problems if that's what you're campaigning for. And you know what the sad thing is? The NFL's so powerful, they'll get it.
They need to demolish both and build on that site, right? How many stadiums? They're vacant. What do they do with them? They're going to get rid of this to build the everything is bigger in Texas thing?
Well,
how true does it have to be?
So I forget how this came up, Tim, but we got down a rabbit hole, Danger and I, the Astrodome. I'm going to say the Astrodome's still up. What do they do with it? And then I read up on it. The latest development project is mixed use, make it like a rodeo thing. It's okay, I guess from the historical standpoint, there might be something to be said if you can make money off it somehow for keeping the Astrodome still up. But with this other one, you're just going to make this okay, these are the stadiums we used to have, and you're just, I don't know.
Yeah, is it are we getting landmarks built after the year 2000? What are we doing here if we're Houston and we just don't like it anymore, so we're going to build an entirely renovate it. Do a normal thing and just make what you've got better. Do you own a home? I don't, but I know that if I want to improve the place that I live, you just make where I am better, nicer. You don't need to completely build something new just because you're bored. Do you want it? Do you it's the want and need, I think, is what gets me.
Well, let's put it in context of this. We like Frontier Field. We see probably other stadiums at AAA that are nicer. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, it's it's nice.
And that's a similar time frame of years.
Yeah, that's 20.
It's about 30, yeah. 96 or 97, I think it was.
It was 96 for the Rhinos, 97 for the Red Wings. So you're coming up, we can say, okay, it's 29 seasons of Frontier Field. Next year will be 30 for the baseball team. Okay, fair? That's how I'm going to lay it out. We can't have that conversation here.
Not even close.
Not even close. I mean, they put the money into it, and again, that's the kind of prudent thing to do. But in a perfect world, wouldn't you like to go to a Red Wing game and maybe walk down the block and go out to eat the dinner or maybe go shopping? No. It's a place where you go, you park, and you leave. Unless you go to the brew house. That's it.
And by the way, down the street from there is a stadium. So if we really, really get greedy and we want to make a new stadium, we got to get rid of that one first, which we've already gotten rid of. But it's what's that? What is that? Is that a parking lot now with grass on it? Is that still used for anything?
Yeah, it is. It is used for Section 5 football, UPrep calls it their home.
Okay, then fine.
Yeah, there's a couple high schools that use it for that. But my gosh, yeah.
I mean, Houston should take a look at how it played out here.
The city would be wise, with the price of scrap metal, to knock that thing down. I'm not being facetious.
Those guys, those schools need a place to play, and if that is their safe place to play, absolutely, positively continue to do that. But if there's other places for them to play, yeah, let's make use of that area and that the product within it.
Voice you're hearing is Terrible Time Timmy. My name is Gene Battaglia, and welcome back to the Sports Bar. As sometimes we get wound up, and sometimes we just kind of
hot stadium talk.
Yeah. Kick back, relax. Going to be fun tonight. I'm trying to picture what the world is going to look like. And the question that I asked Dennis Bernstein yesterday, and I've asked others, how do you kind of capitalize on this? And here's my fear with this: we're going to see hockey tonight. It's going to be great.
Yes,
but it's if you're drinking the glass of wine from the $100 bottle, and now you're going to go over to the box wine. The box wine, I mean Buffalo Sabres hockey. Like, we're going to go back and like, wait a second, this ain't it. This is not it. Like, will the NHL kind of feed into this? I mean, it's going to be, all right, how's the hockey going to look for the rest of the sport that's been off for 2 weeks? And yes, they got returned to practice, but yeah, the NHL returning to play coming up Saturday here.
I'm looking forward to tonight, and I'm looking forward to tonight so much that I don't want to look forward to anything beyond that, just knowing, like, I do all the Amherst games, and this is a fun, quality, high-quality product, top team in the league, right down the street. Go there as often as you can, if you can.
Mm-hmm.
But with the Sabres, their affiliate, their very own affiliate. No, you watch Team USA, Team Canada tonight, and then you pretend to continue to pay attention to the Sabres because you're going to be highly disappointed. Even if they do string together some wins and stay hot from going into this break, it's not the same product. It's not the same quality. And the results are going to make you try and rip your hair out. And there's not much benefit at this point in year 15 of a drought to invest. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
I would not invest my time or dollars into the Sabres product until they prove to me that they're worth it.
Breaking news from football here, too. This is out of Dallas.
New stadium there, too?
No, not yet, at least. Zach Martin's retiring. So,
oh, wow.
The offensive lineman. You realize, like, wait, he's 34.
That, I believe, was the Sammy Watkins draft year or close to it.
Yeah.
And that was highly criticized. And it was probably the best pick they've made in their last 15 years or so.
Yeah. Gosh. Did I say Zach? Yeah. The offensive lineman. It's Zach Martin. I apologize. Like, I'm slipping up. Zach Martin, offensive lineman. As what draft class was he in?
13, 14, 15, somewhere in that. Yeah, that was the Watkins
2014. Year. Yeah, 2014 draft. Boy, that 2014 draft would kind of. So Zach Martin retiring at the age of a lot of Cowboys fans saying, future Hall of Famer, probably. But let's be honest. Do you really know offensive line play? Can you really evaluate it? I admit it. Like, I think we can kind of recognize when we see that it's good. But how do you do? Comparatively speaking.
Yeah, it's tough to figure out. Like, Jason Kelce, I think, is more famous than Hall of Fame. He will probably get in, but I don't think that he really came out of the shell of what the linemen are pretty well protected media-wise until he came out in that whatever outfit it was when they won the Super Bowl a handful of years ago.
Yeah.
Like, that put him on the map, even though he was already in his 30s at that point. Like, Joe Thomas, of course, you kind of knew pretty early on that guy was going to do something special as far as offensive linemen go. Martin, probably the same, but to a lesser, like Orlando Pace, those guys like that, like you kind of know, but it's very few and far between where you can instantly, the day they retire, like, yep, see you in Canton.
Boy, you look back at this 2014 draft, Tim, it's like, wow, you think we know things, we don't know anything. So the first overall pick that year, you're still playing Jadeveon Clowney. Sure, he'll end up somewhere. We were talking earlier, this is how we came up on it, on Khalil Mack. Because Khalil Mack, when you're evaluating all these options for the Buffalo Bills, and, all right, do you bring him in? And, like, yeah, I don't know. At this advanced age, that would have been a great idea 8 years ago. Sammy Watkins going to the Bills at 4 overall. First quarterback in that draft was Blake Bortles at 3 overall. That's pretty funny. But then you look at some of these other picks that were later on.
You'll never believe it, but all the teams that make mistakes continue to make mistakes.
That's Giants taking OBJ at 12.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mike Evans going at 7. But consider that the Bills gave up an extra first-round pick when they could have Mike Evans, I think Mike Evans will be a Hall of Famer eventually.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with that.
I think OBJ,
not anymore.
More famous.
Top heavy, yeah.
But certainly a great career and certainly a better career than Sammy Watkins. And then you have one of the greatest of all time going at 13, Aaron Donald.
I thought you were going to say the greatest of all time, Johnny Manziel, because it was also his draft year.
Yeah, right, Manziel. So, like, Donald at 13.
Yeah.
Ryan Shazier, who was very good for the Steelers, and then he, injury cut him short at 15. Zach Martin, who just retired at 16.
I think that they were criticizing that pick because they wanted Manziel.
Manziel goes to Cleveland at 22. And everybody's thinking, this is going to be and then Teddy Bridgewater, 32, second round, Derek Carr. gosh, yeah. Devontae Adams going in the second round, too. So, funny
Some
how.
good names.
Good names.
And Sammy Watkins is he was a bust, but I don't think that he was a bad pick until it was like all these other guys that we just named were like, oh, we could have done this. And it's like, man, we really missed the bus on that.
Sammy Watkins was how not to build a team. Meaning, hey, the previous year, the Bills drafted E.J. Manuel. E.J. Manuel, not so good. Well, how do we fix E.J. Manuel? We need to get him a top wide receiver. And Sammy Watkins, for the physical gifts and everything else, his mental makeup, I mean, I don't know how deep they dove into that. He's a different dude.
And again, that was a different regime, and this was peak Rex Ryan era too, so it was go get me the flashy superstar guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you would much rather have a guy like Mike Evans and Samuel. And again, hindsight and location may have played a factor into it, but Mike Evans is the play there for sure, just based on where he was drafted, what it cost to get, and how their careers panned out.
We'll talk to head coach Wayne Wilson of the RIT Tigers. That's coming up later in the hour. And we're keeping an eye on Bobby Miller. Who's Bobby Miller? Well, Bobby Miller, a pitcher for the Dodgers, who all of a sudden now is a lead story. And he's going to be the video that comes across your screen when you get home tonight, taking a line drive off the head, 106 miles an hour. Welcome to a new baseball season, everybody. The first Cactus League game, and that's what we're talking about today. The fact that not baseball's professional sports' most dangerous position, and baseball somehow has regressed where, hey, this was happening years ago. Maybe we should make sure that players are wearing the protective gear, and that's kind of gone away here. There's no way you can protect yourself with a line drive coming at you 106 miles an hour. And I don't know how, when you see this, much less how he even gets up, how he's even alive here, Tim.
Yeah, that was a pretty devastating blow, and he was able to get up on his own. He's probably, like, it's so hard to phrase. We're not doctors or neurologists or anything, but, like, he's probably fine. But he doesn't feel very well right now. There's no doubt in my mind that he's got a headache, and the shiner or the lump, like when that moves in size by 10 times like what your head is normally supposed to look like in that short amount of time, it's like, man, you got a boo-boo, and you're very fortunate. And most baseball pitchers, when this happens to them, like, they're counting their lucky stars, and we're doing it on day one of games that don't even count. It's a bummer.
Yeah, boy, you and I were kind of like, all right, like we're just going to follow this just to put ourselves in a better mindset. We were talking to PJ Glasser yesterday about the Mexico Open. Like,
yeah,
like
it's crazy. There's still golf in Mexico. It's not the Gulf of Mexico. It's golf in Mexico.
Golf in Mexico, yeah. Right? Like sporting events that you watch from Mexico. Well, baseball will go down there every once in a while. I remember there was a Padre Giants series. The NFL, they stopped doing that. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I don't even know if I ever noticed it existed.
Well, they were doing the international series.
Yeah.
Every year there was a Monday night team, and it was usually two teams that were based out west. It would be like, oh, hey, it's the Raiders and the Cardinals, or one year the Chiefs. One year it was going to be the Chiefs and the Rams, except they played a soccer match and then it rained and the turf was torn. It wasn't usable, so they moved the game to the L.A. Coliseum. That was, gosh, before they built SoFi. But I digress. Yeah, you don't get Mexico City anymore in the international games. I wonder why that is.
Definitely don't know the reason. It couldn't be the turf. No way.
I was being joking.
So was I.
It's okay. Yeah. I mean, it's like the NFL's going to foul the money wherever it is, and like, hey, you know what? Let's go over to Madrid and Dublin. Boy, there are some exotic locales. Places that, Tim, I've never been to, but I sure as heck would like to get to Madrid and Dublin, certainly London.
The pictures look cool.
Yeah.
I think that I'll keep it to that. Not that I don't have a desire to go there, but I'm not a fan of flying, and if I can't swim either, so...
Well, that's a bad
method for disaster for this guy.
Yeah, never too late to learn. Yeah.
I think it might be.
Yeah, learn to fly. Yeah, we will. We've got Wayne Wilson coming in the show, so let's get the shots. And one of the stories coming up in shots. If you thought It's egregious what they do for PSLs and the Buffalo Bills. I told Timmy this off air, like, you're kidding. Wait till you hear the plan in Syracuse here. I will get to that. My name's Gene Battaglia with Tim Schneider. This is The Fan Rochester.
You're listening. Sports Update.
Big hockey game tonight. United States and Canada. It's the Four Nations Tournament final. Mike Sullivan is the head coach of Team USA.
There's two really good teams. They're going to compete extremely hard and do everything they can to win. How good is that for hockey? It's an unbelievable celebration of hockey. The pace of play will be as fast-paced as what you saw in the first game. Both teams will be emotionally invested. There'll be physicality to the game. For me, it's everything that's good about hockey. I just think it's a great celebration of hockey. Both of these teams are really good.
Rochester Americans now with the best record in the American Hockey League. This after the win last night over Cleveland. Team remains home this weekend. Tomorrow night, Belleville. Saturday at 5:05, it's the Toronto Marlies. Bad news out of basketball. Victory win by Nyama out for the season. The Spurs center has a deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Bills, Sabres, Amerks. Your home for live sports is 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
You know, would it surprise you that tonight's hockey game is actually more expensive to get in price than Game 5 of the World Series? Like, honestly, and that was Yankees-Dodgers, $878 right now. Just for one ticket to get into United States and Canada and Boston. Now, if I could go back in time, Tim, I would have bought some maybe as an investment there and flip them.
Yeah, who would have thought? I mean, even yesterday, the price actually went down from when I looked yesterday, but still, like, that's a big chunk of change for something that people a week and a half ago legitimately did not care about at all.
Tim, I said it on the show. I was wrong, okay? Yes, I was wrong about this. I read this totally incorrectly, thinking, all right, it's going to be out there, and it's a lot of guys that are not going to be. But one thing I didn't account for, okay, the temperature of the world right now,
Sure.
and some of the things that might have happened, and then just the kind of the pride and what wires a hockey player differently as compared to other sports. So the Four Nations, by the way, tournament. This game now, if you want to bet it tonight, it's officially a pick'em. Both U.S. and Canada at -110. Maybe the better play. And again, I'm no PJ Glasser. I'm no Ryan Horvath, who you hear tonight on The Fan. How about Connor Hellebuck at +250 to win the MVP? If the United States wins tonight, barring somebody getting the hat trick tonight, like, it's Hellebuck, right?
If the USA wins, it's Hellebuck, but you're betting on the USA to win, and those odds are better at +250 than -110. So that, I think, is probably the smarter play, at least the money play.
Right. Like, don't bet the U.S. at -110.
Bet their MVP.
Hellebuck
Right.
at 250. Maybe I should tweet that into the guys, see if they'll give me that tonight. If I say the name, Yankee fans, what's your reaction when I say this name? Ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Aaron Boone. Tim, I've yet to hear or meet the Yankee fan that says, yeah, that's my guy, Aaron Boone. More often than not, you get a different response. Generally, it's like, eh. Well, Yankee fans, the news today that the team extended the contract of their manager until the year 2027, which I suppose is the normal way of doing business. Only Jerry Jones of the Cowboys lets his coach go into the final year of his deal.
Yeah, it's a 2-year deal for a guy who a lot of Yankees fans find him to be an analytics puppet, and he's the guy pulling the strings or having the strings pulled on decisions that are being made by somebody else. So I guess in that regard, it doesn't matter who the manager is, but I think that they're just so over maybe him being the guy who makes the decisions.
Yeah, fair or not, that is the perception that here is somebody that, right, you're just a yes guy. That's why you're here.
And if you say no, you're gone. So continue to say yes and sign this paper, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's and again, if you're like, oh, Gene, he's not a bad manager, I'm like, okay, case in point. Things are starting to go sideways for the Yankees in that disastrous 5th inning, okay? And Garrett Cole, he's a competitor. No, don't come out to the mound. No, Garrett Cole can't be the alpha in that situation. The alpha has to be Aaron Boone, and if Aaron Boone gives his team a little bit of a timeout, just goes to the mound. Hey, we're going to settle this down. Because Garrett Cole is laboring in that point. Does it play out any differently? Meaning, when you're tired, you know what happens when you get tired? You make mental mistakes.
Yeah.
And you could say, hey, Anthony Rizzo sitting on his butt there essentially on that play. But it was also Garrett Cole not going over to first base. And I'm just wondering, had the manager just actually recognized that, hey, my pitcher's working a little too hard. I know he doesn't want me to come out there, but you know what? Too bad. We need to settle this thing down.
It's the manager's responsibility to, wait for it, manage the situation. And when it's time for him to actually manage the situation, instead of being the analytics responder, basically, he's responding to what the computers are telling him to do. He's never actually game managed to the point where it's like, oh wow, that was a really good decision that the numbers disputed. It's like, no, you've got to be able to like read that vibe, check the temperature on the situation, and either cool it down or heat it up. And I'm not saying that Boone is the direct reason for them losing that game of the World Series, but man, he did no favors to help them.
No, he didn't. That was the situation that called for it. And there's I think this is one of the – I can't believe I'm actually going to quote this movie, because I think if I had to say what is one of the worst sports movies of all time, what would you say?
There are so many ways that this could go. I'm afraid to make a guess. I don't want to be way off.
Just make a guess. Like, you don't have to – like, what would you say? Let's see if we're on the same track. You're the one you don't like the most all time. Just terrible on many levels.
I personally don't care. I don't know. It's going to be too hot of a take, especially now. But Miracle, I don't really care about.
Ooh,
it's not a terrible movie. It's just like I like the real story rather than the. But that is, I know for a fact that is not the answer that you're going with.
No, the answer I'm going with, and when I say this, you're gonna be like, "Oh, that's a terrible movie." The Replacements.
Oh, yeah, there's two of them, actually. It's so bad they did it twice.
That terrible movie, right? And that Shane Falco there. And Shane Falco gives the speech on quicksand. That was what the Yankees fell into. Like, when you make one mistake after another, it's like, okay, it all started with, wait a second, Aaron Judge dropping the ball. Anyways.
A week ago, Aaron Boone was wishing that the Dodgers would handle this victory with more class. I bet he's saying the same thing about us right now.
Our good friend at Syracuse, John Wildhack, today launching a new initiative. It's called Champion Cuse. What is Champion Cuse? Let me read right from the press release, Tim. This campaign is all about empowering our student athletes to excel in competition, academics, and life. Through Champion Cuse, we'll attract top-tier talent, provide cutting-edge resources and facilities, and give our athletes and training they need to bring home championships. It's a commitment to strengthening the Orange brand, making Syracuse a destination for top recruits and coveted coaches, and enhancing our experiences to over 550 student athletes. Okay. What's the ask here? They are looking to raise $50 million. And we're not talking about from like an Adam Weissman writing a check for $50 million. That's from me and you. One of the examples here, this is directly from their website. They're asking you to become a member of the Legends Society. What is the Legends Society, Gene? Well, the Legends Society, you make a commitment of $25,000 or more over a 5-year period. So you get it for the low price of $5,000 per year. Legend Society donors receive special opportunities, including exclusive events, invitations, apparel, parking, and ticket benefits, and more. Yeah, the PSL in Buffalo doesn't seem so bad now, does it?
No, this sounds like this is legitimately an email directed to Carmelo Anthony that reached the entire nation. It's like, can you please give us all this money we need to pay our players now that now that we're doing that?
Wow.
Can you do it for us? $50 million? You can handle that.
We can all relate to this, okay? You went to Bonaventure. I went to Fordham.
Yes. Our NIL packages are not the same. However, the ask is there.
Look, if you're somebody that gives to your alma mater, okay, that's your decision. I, however, do not. Okay, there's other things and other ways in the money. I think, and there are entities in this universe that are more needy than Fordham University. Okay, or for that matter, whatever your college is. So every time I just have to laugh, like really, you are the dumbest people in the world. Like, I gave you all this money for my tuition. What did you do with it all?
Yeah, I respect the fact that the players are getting theirs now. But why does it got to come from us? Like, I get that we're not football school, Syracuse is, but like we're not football. Fordham is too, actually, but different. We're not football schools in the sense that the money isn't just churning out like it is in the SEC and the Big Ten. But like for Syracuse, it just doesn't sit right. Like,
no,
you want to donate or whatever to get like your name on a poster or whatever, like a thank you card. Sure, I get it, but $50 million from alumni or the like.
Well,
what?
The way they're tallying this up is all right. $25,000 a year. You can afford $5,000 a year. What am I getting for $5,000?
For $5,000 a year, I better have a courtside seat or a suite at least once per year.
Wrong.
Well, understood,
Wrong.
but then I'm out, and and that's that. Like $5,000 just to say like, oh, I like you guys. I like you so much. I'm gonna. No, what is this? An OnlyFans for Syracuse University? Not it.
Well, it's our region. This is what they're being asked. I view it more of a central New York problem. We're just kind of sitting back with our popcorn, munching away here in Rochester. Finally, let's end this segment on a good note. Why don't we hear from Haley Steinfeld taking a quiz about football?
Sure. Got to find that button. It's not on that page, but.
How many yards is a roughing the passer penalty? 15 yards. Name the 4 teams in the AFC East Division. You got the Buffalo Bills and the Bills' 3 sons.
Not wrong.
Yes.
No lies detected.
Haley, welcome to the Bills Mafia.
She knows her football. She might not know the teams in the division, but she knows the answer to the question. She was not incorrect.
Yep. Timing perfect. Yes. Haley, you're one of us. Wayne Wilson, head coach of RIT, coming up next year. It's a Sports Bar on the Fan.
In the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Tim, here's my weekend, buddy. Hockey Friday night at the Gene Policini Center. Hockey Saturday night at the Gene Policini Center. Final weekend of the regular season for the Tigers taking on Mercyhurst. But, you know, it'll start tonight, actually. Everybody who loves this sport is going to be sitting down watching United States and Canada. Happy you're joined by head coach Wayne Wilson of the RIT Tigers. Coach, where are you watching the game tonight?
I'm going to be at home watching the game. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, the last game was outstanding, so it's been great for the sport. This best on best, and it should be a great one tonight.
All right, so Wayne, I'm going to say something. I
Go ahead.
was wrong. I was wrong. I honestly thought, okay, going into this, I'm not buying into the hype. I'm not, and then while we're doing the game Saturday, like well, wait a second, the way that game started, how did I miss out on this? What is it about the sport of hockey, Wayne, that you have these players playing at this level where in other sports, when it comes to exhibition or maybe they're not getting paid, they're not putting that sort of effort into it?
That's a great question. I mean, because obviously they put everything into it when, particularly the start of the last game there with the fighting and so on. It's just I think it's just the pride level that the players have is a huge factor in it, because obviously they're not getting paid any big bucks to play these games. It's when you're putting on the jersey of your country. It just kind of changes everything, and they both want it really bad. So it's another level. It's a heck of a commitment, because whatever 80 or 90% of the league is on a little vacation here before they get back together again and playing for the teams that drafted them and so on. And these guys have worked through their so-called break and laid it all on the line, and it makes for great entertainment. And I think tonight's going to be no different tonight.
Yeah, PK Subban saying he thinks tonight's going to be better than the Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. I'm going to reserve judgment on that, but hopefully it draws a good number. For your team, Wayne, how do you feel about the Tigers, which hasn't been a season that hasn't been to your standard, certainly, but maybe there's something to build off of coming off a weekend where you took 5 or 6 points here.
Yeah, I think there is. I think we've played better of late. I mentioned we've taken 4 of the last 6 games, so that's been big for us. And just trying to find our groove. And nothing's been easy. We've got Dimitri Microgiannakis out this weekend. We haven't had a game this year where we had all healthy bodies, and we just didn't have the depth this year that we could handle that. And we need everyone ready to go. And, again, this weekend's going to be no different regardless of who we play. They've all been a grind, and we've got to be able to, I guess, grind with everyone and try and take a couple more games if we can going into the playoffs.
Yeah, this year you've also had 2 first-year goaltenders. You had Jakub Kurbacek, but then he gets dinged up. What about Ethan David making the most of his opportunity? I'm assuming you're going to go with David tomorrow night, Coach?
Yeah, we're going to go with him tomorrow night, and we'll see how that goes. We've actually liked both of them, and it hasn't been perfect, but they've both been our starting goalies, and it's hard as a freshman to do that. And it's really trying to take advantage of when they're playing well and get them out before they have that tough game and get the next guy in there. But I think they've got really good futures in the program and in our league, and we'll just go from there. But he'll get the start here Friday, and we'll just take it one game at a time at this point.
7:05 puck drop both nights. It's a time change on Saturday. Mercyhurst, we've seen these Rick Gotkin teams over the years. Is this kind of the same style, Coach? Wide open, a little more, yeah?
Yeah, they open it up. They're a very offensive-minded team, and They get very dangerous because once there's a turnover, we've got to manage the puck very well against them and show some patience. Something that I thought we did a very good job with against AIC. So we're going to have to do that again because once we turn it over, they like to go all 5 guys thinking offense, and they transition very, very well. So it makes for an entertaining hockey game. We've got to be disciplined as well and then not give up any power play opportunities. Never mind. We've got to be just sounded in our defensive part of our game, and look forward to 2 good games this weekend.
Yeah, 30 seconds, Coach. It is senior night on Saturday, and for these seniors, too, they were a big part of last year's team. Your thoughts on the class that's going to be moving on here?
Yeah, great point. And, a lot of success over their 4 years with us this year, maybe not so much, but I think what they've been able to add in leadership and kind of lay a foundation for the future. It bodes well for us. I really want to do well for them as well and finish this on a high note. And so they've got a couple of championships under their belt and an NCAA appearance, and they're the group that kind of came out of COVID. So they've seen a lot of adversity through their stretch of time coming to RIT, and we're really grateful for them.
Coach, thanks for your time tonight. We'll see you tomorrow at the Policini. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Wayne Wilson, head coach of the RIT Tigers, as that will be tomorrow night and Saturday at the Gene Policini Center. Fun show today, and if you missed any of it, well, you can just download the Odyssey app and just listen back to it at any point. As we had Dan Fates on the show from 13WM and Buffalo Plus. Michael Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans as well. Tomorrow on the show, the voice of the Buffalo Sabres, Dan Dunleavy, joining us, along with Terrible Take Timmy. Timmy, thank you for your help today. Always appreciate your bad takes.
Happy to be here. Happy to serve up some more bad takes. Hopeful to see Team USA take care of business tonight.
JR Sport Brief coming up next here. Thanks for listening to the Sports Bar here on The Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger.